Did she file an eviction notice against you?
Yes, ma'am.
She was fussing, yelling, and cussing and threatening to beat me up.
She still has property there.
Oh, yes.
No, ma'am.
She left a dog.
You took a dog with you?
Yes.
She had 2 dogs. Those dogs had puppies, and she ran a little farm out of my house.
This is Judy Justice. Keila Bell is suing her former landlord, Janita Akins, for filing false evictions, slander, and harassment.
All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 3076, Bell versus Akins.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Bell, Miss Akins was your landlord for a period of time.
Yes, ma'am.
Were there 2 separate houses? She lived in one, you lived in the other?
Yes, ma'am.
But you were next door neighbors.
Right next door.
So you have a rental home.
Yes, ma'am.
How large a home is it?
It's a 2-bedroom.
Who lived there with you?
Me, my daughter, and my 21-year-old son.
You have dogs.
I have 2.
When did you first lease the house from Miss Akins?
I leased from Miss Akins September 29th of 2022.
And what was the rent you were paying?
$87.
A month.
Yes, ma'am.
So that means you were receiving Section 8 housing, they were paying the rest.
Yes, ma'am.
And how much rent were you receiving?
A total of $750.
What does your son do?
My son works at a Steak and Shake restaurant in our hometown.
And your daughter?
She works also.
At what?
Clothing store.
And you?
Steak and Shake also.
So you have 3 full-time employed people living in your house.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you qualify for Section 8 housing?
Well, everybody at the same time just started working at the home. I no longer receive Section 8 at this time.
Well, I know that you don't, because you say that you don't, and that's part of your complaint against her, that because of the fact that she filed all these eviction notices against you, you lost your Section 8 housing. That's what you say in your complaint.
I let it go.
Well, I just want to know how you were getting it in the first place.
Yeah, I didn't have employment when I started receiving it.
So it wasn't because of her that you lost your Section 8 housing. It was because there were 3 employed adults.
No,
So it wasn't because of her.
it was because of her.
Impossible. That's impossible.
Okay.
All 3 of you were working when you lost your Section 8 housing.
Yeah.
Then with 3 adults working, the government shouldn't be paying $750 or $700 for your rent, and you were only paying $87.
Well, it ended up changing from $750. Well, from my $87, I ended up paying $350. When my income went up, I ended up paying the $350 in rent to Miss Akins.
How long did you live there?
A year.
So I'm crossing out the part of your complaint that alleges that because of her conduct, you lost your Section 8 housing. You lost your Section 8 housing because you didn't qualify for it.
No, I still had it.
What I'm saying to you as a taxpayer, you shouldn't have had it. 3 adult people working in your household, and the rent is relatively minimal. $750 is a relatively minimal rent. It means that each of you were paying $200, about $200 a month rent. I'm certain that even with minimum wage jobs, that's a reasonable rent. Okay, so she filed several eviction notices against you. Mm-hmm. When, for the first time, did she file an eviction notice against you? And can I see the papers, please?
I found drugs in the kitchen.
No. You're not answering my question. My question was, when did she first file an eviction notice against you? Mm-hmm. That requires a date when she filed an eviction notice against you.
11/1. I have a few of them, Your Honor.
No, when was the first time? Just answer my question. When was the first time she filed an eviction notice against you?
October the 15th, I believe it was.
Okay. October of what year?
2022.
May I see it, please? The basis for it. Did you say October of 22 or September of 22?
October.
October. So a month after you moved in.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It was filed the 26th of October.
Okay.
21st, I'm sorry.
Okay. The hearing date was November 16th. This is what you allege. Illegal drugs in unit. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
Miss Bell had called me saying that she had found fentanyl in the cabinets. This was done over a text message. She over text, between texting and calling. And she said that there was fentanyl in a sandwich bag. I have a picture of it. It's only in black and white, but
Okay, so she called you and said she found drugs in the house.
yes, ma'am.
Okay,
And
go ahead.
I didn't believe her because the house had been empty for 4 months before she moved in it. And it had been cleaned several times.
Miss Bell, let me tell you this. It doesn't make sense for her to call you and tell you that she found this bag of drugs in the house if they were hers. Do you understand?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
So I don't understand, as one of the causes to evict her, you say illegal drugs in unit.
That wasn't the first cause for trouble between her and I. The first was, and it was coupled together within maybe a 2 or 3 week span. So she was smoking in the unit. I had called her within 3 weeks of her moving into the unit. I had called the police on her twice already.
For what?
For threatening me, cussing me out, coming into the unit. I believe that she was coming up with reasons to try to get money out of me.
No. Okay. Well, when was the first time you had trouble with her?
It was October the 14th.
Okay.
That I called the police on her.
For what?
I called the police on her because she was fussing, yelling, and cussing and threatening to beat me up.
Keila Bell claims her former landlord, Janita Akins, filed false evictions and harassed her. Janita is countersuing Keila for a water heater and property damage.
Do you remember what that dispute was about, Miss Bell?
The drugs in the kitchen cabinet.
That was about the drugs. Well, explain it to me.
When I called Miss Akins and explained to her about drugs being in my kitchen cabinet, I was convicted over 15 years ago for drugs. It was the way I chose, to support me and my children. I made a vow that when I got taken away from my children, I would never do it again. So I haven't touched drugs. When I called Miss Akins and explained to her the situation, I felt like I was taken advantage of.
Do you think she knew that there were drugs in your house?
Honestly, I do.
Well, what would make you think that? Did she know about your history?
She does.
Did you tell her?
She's a friend of my aunt.
This is a problem, Miss Akins, this first eviction notice. I don't know what antisocial behavior is, breaking the lease. What is that? Because illegal drugs, I don't believe, were hers. The house may have been vacant for 4 months, but it's also possible that somebody else got in there. There is no question in my mind that she would not call you and tell you that she found drugs in the house.
Your Honor, can I just say that the house was a Section 8 house. The house had been inspected several times.
I don't care. I don't care.
By the inspector?
I don't care. I don't know what the inspector did, whether he opened up cabinets or whatever. It just doesn't make sense for the plaintiff to call you and tell you that she found drugs in the house, especially since she didn't want to move then. She didn't want to move out of the house. So why would she call you and say there were drugs in the house? I mean, I can understand if she called and said, listen, there are drugs in the house and I don't like what's going on here, so I want to move. But it doesn't make sense for her to call you.
She didn't say she wanted to move.
No, I said to you, it doesn't make sense for her to call you. Okay, so illegal drugs, forget it. Disturbing the peace, that's when you got into an altercation with her about the drugs in the house, and
Yes.
I can see she's emotional about that. Antisocial behavior is a very large thing, so any judge would have thrown out this complaint, which I assume that they did because it was nonsense.
Yes.
Okay, so we have one nonsense eviction notice. When was the next eviction notice?
The next one was 11/1.
When was the next eviction notice you filed against her, Miss Akins?
I filed that personally. I hadn't had a lawyer an attorney
I don't care
at the time.
whether you had a lawyer.
So
It's nonsense. And
Right.
it was-
So I do believe the next one was in November.
Okay.
I do believe the next one was in November because I had filed that one incorrectly.
Okay, may I see it, please? Thank you. Okay, so this one says non-payment. Did you pay your rent in December?
Yes, ma'am.
What non-payment did you sue her for?
Keila was constantly late with the.
She only lived there for 2 months at the time.
Right. So
She lived there October, November, and this was filed December 6th. So what non-payment?
she was late with that month's rent.
Just a
that I filed
second.
Not payment.
This was filed December 6th.
December 6th. Right. Rent is due on the 1st.
Okay. Did you get paid from Section 8?
Yeah, I do believe.
Just a second. So you got paid from Section 8, and at that time, Section 8 was paying the vast majority of it, she was only paying $87. So there had to be another reason that you were moving to evict her, other than this minuscule payment, and it was only the 6th of the month.
It was also about her pit bulls, right? I had asked her when we set up the lease, and I met with her, before she moved in, she told me she had a dog, and I accepted Keela. The only way that I accepted Keela was that if she had a kennel put in the backyard for her 2 pit bulls. I have a grandson.
Was it in the lease?
Yes, ma'am.
May I see the lease? Kevin, would you show this to Miss Bell, please, and ask her if that's her signature and that's the lease?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so when you moved in, you knew you had to have a kennel for your 2 pit bulls.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you put it in?
That week.
The week that you moved in?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
No, Your Honor. That didn't happen. She didn't move a kennel into the backyard until April of this year.
Your Honor, I've got a video.
I'd like to take a look
That's
at it.
from April of this year.
Miss Bell, just make sure that what you're showing me is 2 weeks after you moved in. Do you understand?
Okay.
Don't show it to me. Don't show it to me unless the kennel was put in within 2 weeks of your moving in.
Okay, this doesn't have a date, but this is her son attacking me when the kennel was being put in the backyard.
In April.
Just a second. Month and year.
Okay.
Listen to me carefully, Miss Bell.
Okay.
Let's not play with each other. Was the kennel put in April of 2023?
No, ma'am. The kennel was
When
put
was-
in October when I moved in.
Okay. And did you purchase the kennel? Did you purchase the kennel?
No, I did, but I bought it from a friend.
Miss Bell, you know we're in trouble here.
I don't have a receipt for it.
This last one was filed in December of 2022, and it alleges violation of the lease. Was the violation of the lease in 2022 that you're referring to the lack of a kennel in the house for the 2 pit bulls?
Yes, ma'am, that's part of it.
Well, the other one is utilities shut off. What does that mean?
So her utilities had gotten shut off. When the gas company came back out to restore service, it done something to my hot water tank, to the hot water tank. She or someone with her lit a self-igniting hot water tank, right, that destroyed the hot water tank in the property. So I then had to shell out
I got a red tag.
almost $900 to replace the hot water tank.
So far, I don't believe that you put in a kennel when you moved in, so she's allowed to file this eviction notice. When was the next one? I want you to understand that I believe
Yes, ma'am.
that you didn't put in a kennel for the dogs
I hear you.
until April of 2023. You hear me?
Keela Bell is accusing her former landlord, Janita Akins, of harassment and filing multiple false evictions. Janita is countersuing Keela for a water heater and property damage.
I want you to understand that I believe
Yes, ma'am.
that you didn't put in a kennel for the dogs
I hear you.
until April of 2023. You hear me?
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Okay. When was the next one?
The next is so many, Your Honor.
Oh, that's okay. I'm telling you, you were still there and you didn't put in a kennel until April of 2023. You were in violation of your lease for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
You
what
were in
it
violation of your lease for a very long time. Because I wouldn't like to live next door to you with 2 pit bulls roaming around the backyard.
said. Right.
Anything else?
Not with the eviction.
Great. So your next cause of action is slander, defamation of character. Tell me what that was.
She made a few Facebook posts using my name,
In what way?
saying how much I owed in rent, saying that I was unable to pay it. And then there's another one where she said that I tore her house up.
That's what she's counterclaiming for.
Yeah.
So far, none of that is slanderous. Yeah, she lets her animals tear up the property. Miss Bell,
Yes, ma'am.
she says back here in August of this year, She lies about it, but fails to inform the magistrate landlord she lets her animals tear up the property. But does she want repairs done? No. Why, you say? She engineers lies on Facebook to justify her actions in not giving me access to the property so it can look like I'm not doing the repairs.
What she put on Facebook.
Yeah, I know it's what you put on Facebook. Your case is dismissed. All right, so we're finished with you. Money owed for defamation, property damage. How did she damage your property? That's all I'm interested in.
She lit the self-igniting hot water tank.
Okay, what else?
I had the attorney's fees from her.
What attorney's fees?
The attorney's fees about this case. They were $875.
For what?
For
what case are you talking about?
I'm talking about the small claims court case. And we also talked about tenants issues. We talked about, what I would be liable for. She filed an answer.
All right, very, very nice. It's all very, very nice. You're living someplace else now?
Yes, ma'am.
You have another tenant in the house?
No, ma'am. She hasn't released tenancy from the property, which is why I have to keep putting notices on the door. So I can stay legal.
Stop for a second. What do you mean she hasn't released?
She hasn't given me the keys back to the property. She hasn't told me that she was moving from the property. My attorney called and, made contact to ask and had me ask her, and she hasn't moved anything.
You mean she still has property there?
Oh, yes, ma'am. She still has property there.
What does she have?
She has a bed, a dresser.
Just a second. Do you still have any property that you want in the house?
No, ma'am.
You don't?
No.
When you moved out, did you leave things of yours there?
No.
What about a bed?
No.
A dog?
What?
She left the dog there for 10 days with no heat and said that I exposed the dog to 20-degree weather on Facebook. She said that.
Did you leave a dog there?
No, ma'am.
You took a dog with you?
Yes.
Okay, you have any proof?
I have both.
Did she have 3 dogs?
I have 2.
No, did she have 3?
She actually had 9. She had 2 dogs. Those dogs had puppies, and she ran a little farm out of my house.
Listen to me. You both submitted yourself to my jurisdiction.
Yes.
Say nothing. She has now gone from the house. I find that she is acknowledged that she is no longer a tenant of yours.
Cool.
Anything in the house that you do not want to keep that you think was hers, you can dispose of. Sell it, throw it away, change the locks on the door, the tumbler. If she didn't give you the keys back, change the tumbler. I will prepare that order and I will sign it. And you agree with it, correct?
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
She's going to dispose of any property that's there. She's going to change the tumbler this week because she should do that anyway.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
She don't own the house.
I don't care who owns the house. She was your landlord. That's what she says. So if she wants to do that, she can do that. But you have nothing there that you claim is yours anymore, and you are no longer a tenant in that house.
Correct.
So whoever owns the house can get rid of whatever they want, can change the locks on the doors. Do you understand?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Perfect. We're finished. We'll prepare the order for you. Thank you. Bye.
This court is adjourned.
Overall, I think it was fair.
I like Judge Judy. I think that she is fair, which is why I agreed to come.
It was ongoing harassment, the everyday coming home with a paper posted to the door.
I got a 24-hour notice that I put on the door so I could go in and check the heat and discovered that she had left the dog there after she had moved, after she had transferred her utilities.
The only dog that was in the house was her.
Well, she left the dog there 10 days.
My daughter was burned by a stove that was on the property, 3rd-degree burns.
I'm sorry your daughter got hurt. If she got hurt, I wasn't there. I think stoves are usually user-friendly.
She said that she's not on the lease, so she wasn't going to replace it.
The stove was her responsibility.
I will never rent from her again, and hopefully anybody that sees it runs.
I am so elated that she's gone.
I'm just in a better place.
What I would say is, America, don't do drugs.
So I have to tell you one of my pet peeves as both somebody on the bench, but more than that, just a citizen. There is a swath of people who are Americans who live in this country that need assistance, who work, some can't work, but who work and can't quite make it. I can't tell you how it bothers me when somebody has 3 employed adults in their house and applies for and accepted for government-assisted housing. She knew she wasn't entitled to it, You know, you could tell from her look that she knew she wasn't entitled to it. And it's just too bad that the government is so inept that it can't ferret out those people who need and those people who want. Well, there's a big difference. Need and want are two different things. It just constantly surprises me the inefficiency of government. And really the way some people will spend more time scheming to get what they're not entitled to than they will spend moving their lives forward in a positive direction.
It is a very tricky system. You know, I've dabbled in just seeing what the process would be like of applying for any sort of government assistance and just to try and understand litigants a bit better who have gone through it. And it's complicated. It's nuanced and complicated and online, and there are multiple forms, and this one has to go before this one. And I feel like if you're able to complete that, you have a skill that could be used in a productive way to make it so that you don't need to figure out that whole...
Brzezinski, all parties please step forward.
Edwin Blake is suing business owner Kyle Brzezinski for property damage and filing a false lien on his property.
Mr. Blake, you are a landlord and you have several rental units. One of the units that you have has been occupied by Mr. Brzezinski's cousin for the last 10 years. And she's been a reasonable paying tenant. We've had no difficulty. Is she still your tenant?
She is.
And Mr. Brzezinski, who is her cousin, never lived in that unit.
Correct.
How many rental units do you have altogether, sir?
At this time, I have 5.
Are they all in the same building?
No, they're individual houses, and I have one that's in Florida, condo that I rent as well. So that's one of the 5.
So Mr. Brzezinski's cousin lives in one of your houses?
Correct.
This is what your lawsuit is about, sir. It is your claim that Mr. Brzezinski, without your authority, did renovations in that house in a bathroom. And when he asked you for payment for the renovation, you said, I never authorized the renovation. I'm not paying you for renovation that I never authorized. He put a lien on your house. And when did he put the lien on the house?
It would have been February when he executed the...
February of
23. Correct.
And when was the work done on the house?
In December.
Of 22.
22, correct.
Mr. Brzezinski says that you did, in fact, authorize the work, that he had an absolute right to put a lien on your property. He's got a counterclaim for $10,000 for the work that he did. Okay, so Mr. Brzezinski, actually the ball is in your court.
Okay.
When for the first time did you meet Mr. Blake?
I've never met Mr. Blake.
Okay, so this is the first time.
This is the first time.
And what kind of business are you in?
I am in construction and general maintenance.
Who do you work for?
Myself.
In what state?
Wisconsin.
Are you a licensed contractor?
Yes, I am.
What's the name of your company?
K&K Pristine Exteriors.
Could you check that for me, please?
Sure.
And how long have you been in business?
2 to 3 years.
What did you do before that?
I've done all sorts of construction beforehand. Glass and glazing was the most recent one.
So you've never met Mr. Blake. So any conversations you had with him were either over the phone or via texts or emails?
Everything was through his maintenance guy, Mike Bennon, who is his witness.
Ma'am, he's not my maintenance guy.
Just a second.
Okay.
So you've never personally had a conversation with the plaintiff?
That is correct.
That's a big problem for you, sir. Now, you've been in the construction business. You have a company. Sarah's looking up the company. I assume you have a website. Is that right?
Yes.
The area of the house that you worked on was the bathroom for your cousin. I want you to tell me when for the first time you saw your cousin's bathroom.
Probably about 9 years ago, right after she started
Just a second.
renting.
And more recently?
More recently would be August.
I want to know how it came about, Mr. Brzezinski,
Yes.
that you saw the bathroom. Did your cousin call you?
Cheek.
Were you over there for a visit? I want to know how it came about, since you had no contact with him.
Well, her and Mike had called me about how the bathroom was in such poor condition.
Who's Mike?
Mike Bennon is his witness sitting right there, which would also be my cousin's boyfriend.
Oh, just... oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just a second. So this man, you say, is your cousin's boyfriend.
Yes,
And either she or he called you to come and look at the bathroom.
that is correct.
Okay. Was he living there at the time?
No, he just stays there every so often.
How long have you known him?
I have known him once she introduced me, which would be a month or 2 before in August.
In August?
Yes, that's when the first conversation about this renovation being done took place.
Okay, so
August
this
19th.
just a second. So this is the boyfriend,
Yes,
according to what you know,
yes,
of your cousin,
That's
who you
correct.
know is a renter.
yes.
Okay, and then what happened, sir?
They
I
had-
want to know how it came about that you did the renovation, since you had no conversation with him at all personally,
Okay.
and you met him only for the first time today. You're trying to scam.
Claims business owner Kyle Brzezinski damaged his rental home and filed a false lien on his property.
Okay, so now the ball is in your court.
August 19th, they had called to have me come meet and look at the bathroom, which I did. And Mike was there too, as well, had us look at it and said, I go, yes, I can do that. And he said what he wanted done to the bathroom. So leave the tub.
You mean this man
Yes.
told you that?
Yes,
Okay.
leave the tub and leave the tile up the wall halfway. And then he was doing window work on the apartment, on the house, replacing the windows. So they offered to leave the dumpster there so they didn't have an extra charge with the dumpster, because there was a dumpster on site. I said I cannot get to it right now. It would be late November, December before I would be able to get onto this. So as time went, they got a hold of me and wanted me to come help grab a
Who
toilet.
they? You mean
Mike-
your cousin
Mike got a
and
hold
Mike?
of me,
And as far as you know, he's still dating your cousin.
as far as I know.
Okay, go ahead.
So Mike had me come meet up with him to pick up a toilet from another one of Blake's units to use on my cousin's remodel.
So he found a toilet for you.
Yep, from another one of his rentals.
You know anything about that? No. Just check. You know anything about the other toilet? That's all I'm asking you.
I do.
Okay. Go ahead. I'll get to you in a
Okay.
second. Just maybe.
So I did that, and then conversation came back in November when I said, I got time to do this now. Is this good to go? And I got a yes from my cousin saying that Blake had authorized it, and a yes from Mr. Bennon saying it was authorized to go ahead and do the remodel. So then I started on the remodel in December.
You can't do that. You can't do that, Mr. Brzezinski. Sue your cousin. Your cousin authorized you to do work in the bathroom. He never authorized you to do anything.
Mr. Mike Bennon was acting as the agent.
Oh, no, sir. That may have been a giant leap for you. You said you had a conversation with your cousin.
Yes,
And she said, okay, go ahead and do it. And you did it.
yes.
Did I get that right? Did he? She said,
Go ahead and do it.
she said, go ahead and do it. Sue her. You're not losing. What do you want to interfere for? Your cousin said, go ahead
Yeah.
and fix my bathroom. Sue her if she didn't pay you. You can't put a lien on his property. That's fraudulent. That can get you in real trouble, sir. If you have a license in the state of where? Wisconsin?
Yep.
Yeah? They can lift your license for that. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Because I'm going to send them an order.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I don't understand what you're thinking. You knew she was a renter.
Yep.
You say I have to get a contract with the owner of the house to do that. You've been in the business. You said 2.5 years. You have a company for him?
I couldn't get to the website because it was a spam risk to go to the website, but I have a Nextdoor page for the business with a little blurb on their story that doesn't really read professional. It reads more hobby-based.
Got it.
He does landscaping.
It's mostly landscaping.
Mostly landscaping.
His license
By the way,
is
do you?
a qualifier.
By the way, in Wisconsin, I know I've had to renovate bathrooms and I've done bathroom renovations, and all of that requires permitting. Did you pull permits on this? Think very carefully. Did you pull permits on this bathroom?
No, I did not.
No, but you were required to pull permits
There
on
was
the
a
bathroom.
permit pulled for the renovations being done already on the house.
You, in the bathroom, didn't pull permits.
Nope.
No. Well, this is a very easy case. I don't even have to ask about a toilet. You didn't have to open your mouth. Mr. Brzezinski,
Yep.
I am sending an order to,
Department of Ag, Trade, and Consumer Protection.
that's where it's going. And it's going to be a strong order. It's going to indicate that you had no permission from the owner of the property to do any work on the property. That's what I found. You've signed off on that, on any judgment that I make, that you sued the wrong person because the owner of the property never gave you permission to do any work, that you did work without pulling permits, and I'm directing them to remove the lien on his house. Do you understand?
Yes.
Great. Now go sue your cousin to get paid. Got it?
Yep.
Yeah, you're trying to scam him. You can't do that. You can't do work for somebody and then say, now I want to get paid. I've never spoken to you, but now I want to get paid. And if you don't pay me, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to make your life miserable by putting a lien on your house. And by the way, if you get me a number, I'll call them as well. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Lien will be removed.
This court is adjourned.
Well, he sent me a bill and he threatened to sue me, but he didn't sue me, and instead of suing me, he put a lien on my property. I didn't even know he was doing it, and I get a bill for this big amount of money to pay for a job I didn't ask for, and the work was just absolutely terrible. I'm not saying he's a crook in general, but in this case, he tried scamming me. Happy it's over.
So I hope I made it clear what I found. I couldn't find a website on the defendant's LLC, but I did find a Nextdoor page, which is just a business page. It's for neighbors to get ideas. If you're looking for a contractor or a landscaper, neighbors can post on there and give suggestions. So I found his page on there, but in the About Us or Our Story section of his business, it says that he started out landscaping because his mother had a vegetable garden, and then he was good with his hands, so he made it a career choice. But it all seemed very hobby-based and more landscape-based
rather than construction.
A licensed contractor able to redo an entire bathroom. But I think the right thing happened. He can't file a lien on someone's property, and
come on, that you've never spoken to.
Exactly. I was surprised at his position because I know we spoke about this before, and we thought he was going to come in saying that he had all these documents signed with the plaintiff and conversation. Never seen him before today. Just met him for the first time, so kind of was dead in the water before he got there.
We'll do that order, and I'm confident that it'll work.
Yeah.
That they'll remove the lien from his house.
Yeah.
Are you a victim of an assault? Go to judyjustice.tv. Godwin Onyebujour is suing his child's mother, Deanna Williams, for assault, false arrest, and parking tickets.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 3058, Onyebujour versus Williams.
Thank you. Mr. Onyebujour, you have one child with the defendant.
Yes, Your Honor.
And one on the way.
I'm not sure if it's mine yet, Your Honor.
Well, she says it's yours. And you were, in fact, living together.
At the time, not right now.
You were living together from when to when?
From January this year till about April.
So the one child that you have together was conceived when you were not living together?
We're living together. The first child we had, we're living together with my parents.
And how long were you living with your parents?
About throughout the whole time, my daughter was born.
When was that?
May 12, 2018. She was born.
How long were you living with her at your parents' house?
We're living together the whole time before we moved out.
Give me the time frame. How many years? From when to when?
About 5 years. Sorry. Yeah, no.
So that would be from 2013 to 2018, or from 2018 to 2023?
2018 to 23.
So you've been constantly living together.
Yeah,
both at your parents' house and then in this apartment that you leased.
Yeah, between those times, we moved out together to Long Beach, but we moved back in with my parent as well. So
fine. So you moved back and forth, but you've been together with her since 2018.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
When did she marry your brother? In what year?
It's my cousin, not my brother.
Just a second.
Okay.
Actually, it's who?
It's my cousin, not my brother.
Your cousin?
Yes.
When did she marry your cousin?
I think I had to be 20.
When did you marry his cousin?
In February 2018.
Were you living together at the time she married your cousin?
No, we weren't.
And in what month did you start living with him at his parents' house?
About after I had my daughter, May 14th, 2018.
Well, clearly you were with him before you moved into his parents' house.
Yes.
Because if your daughter was born, I'm not really good in math, but clearly you were together, even if you weren't living with his parents, when you married his cousin.
His brother.
You say his brother, he says his cousin, his relative.
It's his brother.
And where was his relative?
In Nigeria.
Is he now here?
Yes.
And are you in the process of divorcing?
Yes, ma'am.
That's not him, is it?
That's him right there, yes.
Oh, that would be you right there.
Yes, ma'am.
I would make a beeline for the door. No, sit down.
All right.
Okie dokie. It is your claim that the defendant assaulted you on several occasions. You're going to tell me when. That in addition to her assaulting you, she vandalized your home during your last argument.
Yes, Your Honor.
By throwing grease on the kitchen walls from a fry pan.
Yes, Your Honor.
That you purchased a car that allegedly was supposed to be her car, but it's in your name because you had better credit, according to her. That after this breakup, she took the car. And while she had the car, she racked up hundreds of dollars in parking tickets or other toll fines.
Yes, Your Honor.
You've subsequently taken back the car.
No, Your Honor. I purchased a car. She never has a job. I work 2 jobs.
Could you just answer my question? Did you subsequently take back the car?
The vehicle is mine, Your Honor. I took it back, Your Honor. Yes, yes.
Just answer. You took it back from her.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And you're suing her for the tickets that you racked up on the car because the car is in your name.
Yes, Your Honor.
She says, no, you're violent. You assaulted her. Oh, and you're also suing her for false arrest. A lot going on here. You're suing him because you say he abused you, and it was really your car. It was just in his name, as I said, because he had a better credit score. He didn't address the parking fines, but you want something for this car. Okay, just for my own information, Miss Williams, your daughter is now 5?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're expecting another?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a massage therapist.
For whom?
I'm just on my own. I just graduated.
So you're not doing it yet?
No, but I've been...
Just a second. Did you file income tax returns last year?
Yes.
How much did you earn last year when you filed your income tax returns? You personally? Just be very careful.
Yeah.
How much did you claim that you earned if you filed income tax?
Well, I had a W-2. I was previously working at the DMV.
And how much did you earn?
About 25 to 30K.
Okay. Let's get to the assaults that you reference, sir, in your complaint. We're going to do assaults first. When was the first assault?
It was in February 2023.
I don't want to get to the first assault because after February 2023, you moved back together.
Yeah, temporary.
Just a second.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim you were assaulted. You went to the hospital. You had broken ribs.
Yes, Your Honor.
Police were called, and you weren't together at that time. She left the house.
Yes, Your Honor, because she has a restraining order.
You filed a restraining order against her. But then you invited her back to the house in March.
I never invited her. She came back to the house, and I never...
Just a second.
Yes.
When she came back in March, did she come back in March and stay for a period of time? Just be careful.
Yes, Your Honor.
We're going to...
Yes, Your Honor.
We're not going to play a mind game here, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
She came back.
Yes, Your Honor.
You agreed that she could come back.
Yeah, because her name is on the lease. I can't kick her out. Yes, Your
Not
Honor.
because her name may be on the lease. You couldn't kick her out. Did you sleep with her?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you sleep with her?
Yes,
yeah.
Your Honor.
Yeah, that's not on a lease anywhere because she's married to your brother. Do you understand?
My cousin, Your Honor.
Cousin. Okay. Do you understand? So you invited her back to the house after this assault. And in the law, you know what we call that? Condonation. Well, it was an assault, but you forgave her because you invited her back to the house.
She has no place to go. I had to let her.
I don't, listen, shoulda, woulda, coulda. If you say she came back because she was on the lease, she had no place to go, that would make you altruistic. Sleeping with her is a different situation. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So all 3 were true. She was on the lease.
Yes, Your Honor.
She had no place to go.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you slept with her.
Yes, Your Honor.
There we go. That's called condonation. That may be an expensive condonation for you, but it's condonation. Now, so she moves back in March, and what's next?
She moved back in March, and we had an incident where I gave my daughter my phone, and she takes the phone from her, and she kept going through my phone while I was sleeping because I worked 2 jobs. In between those times,
Just a second. So she took your phone.
Yes, Your Honor.
And she looked through your phone.
Yeah, she does that frequently. Well, most of the time she does.
I don't care. Every woman does the same thing. Men do it too. So she looked through your phone.
Yes, Your Honor.
And what did she find?
She said she found a lady that bought a car from me because I sold the car to a friend of hers. She said I was talking to her, and she got mad over me talking to her.
Just a second. So she found that you were talking to another lady.
Yes, Your Honor. That's our friend.
Just a second. Don't explain yourself to me, sir. I'm still trying to figure out the brother-cousin.
We were texting.
Sure claims his child's mother, Deanna Williams, assaulted him and had him falsely arrested. Deanna is countersuing, claiming Godwin assaulted her multiple times.
Okay. When she looked through the phone, where were you?
I was laying down in the bedroom.
This was in March?
Yes, Your Honor.
March what?
I think it was March 28th.
And you were lying down and?
She kicked down the door and she came into the room and she hit me upside the head with a perfume bottle.
Not the phone.
No, not the phone. Because my daughter had the phone. I thought my daughter had the phone, but when she came into the room, she kept asking me, "Who was that? Were you talking to this person?" And I said, "Yeah, but nothing sexual or nothing like bad about my conversation with her." But she was mad about it, because she got aggressive. So she hit me upside the head with a perfume bottle, punched me in the eyes, and she ran out the door with my daughter.
This was March 28th.
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you treated for that anywhere?
No, I wasn't, Your Honor.
Did you take any photographs of it?
The police did.
May I see them?
I don't have it right now, man.
The police were called.
They were called because I went to work that day. Because as soon as the incident happened, she took my phone, she ran out the door, so I couldn't call the police. So I went straight to work. So they came to my job to arrest me. That she had scratched herself because after they released me, she told me that she did that because she thought she was going to get arrested for hitting me.
Because she had a prior restraining order.
Yes, Your Honor.
What happened to that case?
It's dismissed.
Is that right?
Yes, I believe so.
What do you mean you believe so?
I have evidence.
I was never notified. Just from what he told me, the case was dismissed.
Well, why don't you tell me what happened, your version of what happened on March 28th? March 28th, you were looking in his phone. You were looking in his phone. Listen to me, be very careful. March 28th, you were looking in his phone.
It was March 29th.
March 29th, you were looking at his phone. And?
I was looking in his phone. I found messages and cash apps of him sending another woman money.
Now, in what room in the apartment were you when you were looking at the phone?
So this incident is not related to what he's talking about. That was the night before.
That's March 28th.
No, March 29th. This incident happened on March 30th. So previously, the night before, I had found the messages. I had questioned him about it. He said it wasn't anything. He wasn't doing anything, blah, blah, blah. The next day, which was a Thursday, I was in the bedroom. Mr. Onyebajor was in the living room with my daughter. We were texting back and forth, talking, when he disclosed to me that he was, in fact, cheating on me with an acquaintance of mine. I wouldn't call her a friend, and that she was pregnant. I have the text message.
You have those text messages?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct, sir? That's either a yes or a no. She says she has the text messages.
Your Honor, no, because she has my phone.
Just a second. May I see the text message?
Yes, ma'am.
Just a second. Did you write in a text message to her, listen to me, that you were having a relationship, I didn't finish the question yet, in sum and substance, you were having a relationship with someone else and the person was now pregnant with your child?
I never wrote, no, Your Honor.
Okay, may I see it, please?
She has my phone the whole time.
May I see it? Before I look at this, sir, I'm going to give you one more chance. Were you having a relationship with someone else prior to March 28th?
No.
Yes or no?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Did another woman advise you that she was pregnant with your child?
No, Your Honor, I don't have no child.
You go.
Your Honor, I also have the messages between him and her.
Just a second.
Excuse me.
Yep, because you don't take it out of my wallet. Referring to this other woman. Wow, finally you're a man and admit that. How long have you been with her? Your response, she's pregnant too. Over 1 year.
Your Honor, she has my phone. Whatever.
Just a second. Just watch this time. The car it says cat. I assume it means car is going to be taken away. You better run this time. You threatening me? You can't take the car. I have a contract. You say she's a better person than you will ever be. I'm going to take that car away and give it to her. Does that sound familiar to you? Stop waving. That sound familiar to you?
No, Your Honor, I never.
What do you mean no? That's from your phone.
She has access to she takes my phone and take off with it. She makes up all these stories.
I'm talking about your phone, sir.
Yes, Your Honor. She has my phone. Majority of the time, she has my phone. She texts random.
So you mean she was texting from her phone and then back and forth to herself and your phone, and she was creating this?
There's a possibility.
What's the name of the woman?
Jennifer Velez. I have text messages between them also.
May I see them, please?
Of course, ma'am.
Okay, so what happens is when she gets your phone, she's able to make copies of what your conversations are, not only with her, but with Jennifer. Do you understand?
I don't have no, that's her friend. I don't have no relationship with her friend. They were friends. I saw the card to her, that was it.
I don't know whose messages these are.
The gray is her, and then the green is him. And those are the messages from her to him, asking him for money, telling him to delete the messages.
Okay, so now we're at March 28th, 29th, and 30th, somewhere around there. You're up.
Yes, ma'am. So I was in the bedroom, he was in the living room. That's when we were exchanging those text messages, when he had admitted that he was in fact cheating on me and the woman was pregnant. When I received those text messages, I kind of put me into a panic attack.
You got angry.
Yeah, I got angry. I was kind of hyperventilating. I was like, you know.
Got it.
Yes, ma'am. So I was in the bedroom with the door locked. He came to the bedroom door, started banging on it, telling me to let him in. I did not open the door. I continued crying pretty hysterically. And that's when he proceeded to break through the door. He entered into the bedroom and immediately started assaulting me. He was hitting me. I was sitting on the edge of the bed. He grabbed me by my hair. He just kept...
Did you seek medical assistance?
Yes, I did.
Can I see the medical report?
I have the police report.
Who did you seek medical treatment from?
So I went to the hospital.
Just a second. Let me see the report from the hospital.
I don't have that.
It doesn't help me.
I don't have that with me.
And it doesn't help me.
Okay.
Then it doesn't help me. Says she ultimately refused being transported to the hospital.
Yes, because
Not because, that's what it says.
No, yeah, I drove myself. I didn't want to go on.
I don't know that because you don't have a report. You want to tell me?
His child's mother, Deanna Williams, of assaulting him and lying to the police. Deanna claims she was the one assaulted.
Now, you left the hospital prior to treatment. Is that right?
Yes.
Just say yes or no. Yes, you left the hospital prior to treatment. Can I see what happened with this case? You were arrested.
Yeah, I was arrested.
You were arrested on this case, and that's the false arrest that you have.
False arrest.
That's a false arrest that you have. May I please see the district attorney's write-up on that, or whatever you have that indicates the case was dismissed?
I think it's one of them. Okay, sorry. Let me double check on.
And while you're looking through documents, I'd like to see proof of the tickets that she got.
This was dismissed.
This incident occurred in April.
That's the last one she got arrested when she broke the wall.
No. I understand.
Oh, that's a dismissal.
I'm talking about the dismissal.
It's right there, Your Honor.
Yeah, the city attorney decided that they were not going to prosecute this case and advised you that there was no need to report to court to answer the charges. All right, then I want you to tell me what happened in this April incident when she damaged your kitchen. I'm going to go from one to the other. You went back to the apartment after all this happened. You went back to the apartment in April. What for?
To pick up my clothes. Mr. Onyebujor said he had them in bags on the front porch.
And what happened when you got there?
When I got there, I contacted the police.
Why?
So they could meet me there so it could be a peaceful exchange. The dispatcher, I told...
Don't tell me what they told you or you told them. You got to the house.
I got to the house. The door was open.
Just a second. Were there bags on the porch?
No, ma'am, there was not.
Okay. The door was open in April. Now, you had, according to you, this violent attack in March. Stop looking through your papers. You had this violent incident in March.
Yes.
So you go back to the house, and you walked into the house because the door was open.
Yes.
And then what happened?
I started to collect my things.
How did you start to do that?
I went into the kitchen and I was getting my things.
What things?
My blender, my...
No, that's not your clothes, madam.
Well, I had
That's not your clothes.
Okay.
That you said, I wanted to get my clothes, and he was going to put them in a bag. Now you opened the door, you went into the kitchen, and you started to take, that's what you just told me.
The door was open.
The door was open. You went into the kitchen and started to take your things. What things? I started to take my blender.
All of my things.
Just a second. I don't know whose things they are, madam. You started to take things that weren't your clothes.
Okay.
And then what happened?
And then the brother saw me and told Mr. Onibujor, who was in the restroom, that I was there.
And?
I started to quickly get out of the kitchen.
How did you do that?
I went to grab the stuff and I went out.
So you went to leave the kitchen with the stuff from the kitchen?
The blender, yes.
The blender. And?
Mr. Onibujor came out of the bathroom and he attempted to take my phone. He lunged at me to take my phone. He had his hands.
Just a second, I thought, what was your phone there for? You had the blender.
I had the blender like this, and I had my phone like this.
Go ahead. So we went to take the phone.
So I dropped the blender, and I'm fighting to take my phone back from him. I believe he was trying to take my phone away.
I don't know what he was trying to do, madam.
Yeah, he was trying to take my phone.
You were fighting back and forth with your
Yeah.
phone. You dropped the blender, and?
So then there by the stove there was a frying pan. I picked up the frying pan to I was gonna hit him. He backed off. I ran out of the apartment with nothing but my phone.
And no clothes.
No clothes.
Well, you came for your clothes. You should have taken your clothes.
Yeah, I'm kind of, just with everything going on, I was just very emotionally distraught. And
Okay, fine. Now, were you driving the car when this ticket came in? Notice date April the 3rd. Is this the only ticket that you have?
That's the only one I could get out, but she has 2 more tickets.
Well, I don't know if she has or not, sir, because that's evidence. And
I think
evidence
I
is
might
the
have.
only thing that I work on. This is an old ticket, madam.
yes, I paid the tickets. I have my bank statement.
Did you pay? Let me see that this ticket was paid.
Just let me know the date, please.
The citation date was November 30th, 2022.
And the notice date was...
And you parked in disabled parking.
No, Your Honor, that was him. He took the vehicle up to the mall, and that was him. That was his ticket.
You want to know something? You know how much I don't care? I actually think that the two of you deserve each other.
No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You want to tell me how it came about that the mother of your 2 children, one and one to be, how she came to marry your cousin?
I didn't know about that at first. We went to Africa before he started talking to him, because at that time we're not together. We separate many times, many occasions, because sometimes we'll break up and she'll go back to her ex. It's always in and out of jail. So and like I said, she has a previous.
How many times, Miss Williams, have you been to Africa?
Twice.
When?
February 2018, when...
And what did you go there for?
We went there to marry his brother.
And tell me what the circumstances were.
The circumstances were Godwin, persuaded me.
This is Godwin?
This is Godwin, yes, ma'am. My boyfriend. We were never broken up. Persuaded me to marry his brother so he could be able to come over here.
Oh.
And did you?
Yes, ma'am.
And did he come over here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and he's here.
And he's here.
Prior to February of 2018, had you ever met his cousin brother?
No, ma'am.
Okay, your case is dismissed, sir. So's yours. We're done here. You deserve each other.
This court is adjourned.
I thought it wasn't fair because I think she just know how to manipulate the system.
I mean, she's fair.
She's a pathological liar.
He's I would say, a Nigerian scammer, and I was scammed, but I allowed myself to be.
She's never want to make changes for better for herself. She always want to just have her way in every situation.
He's narcissistic, he's a sociopath, he's just honestly the worst person, and anybody who comes in contact with him should run.
We fell in love over the phone, we started talking, we got connected.
I'm divorcing him.
Just swimming full of lies, she's like a habitual liar. She's just love to lie, and she can't change that about her.
I hope he continues denying my son, and I can just go on and be happy without him, because he's horrible.
I think the key takeaway of that is if you're going to commit a federal crime,
don't subject yourself to a court's jurisdiction. Just sign away. Yep. Okay. That seems like a terrible one-step thinking plan.
You're absolutely right.
They thought that you wanted to hear squabble between his side, her side, arguing, fighting, multiple instances of what they call assault, when the underlying factor is there was a major federal crime committed here.
I don't know why
So
they would subject themselves. You're absolutely right.
Oh, man.
Foolish.
Cassandra Britt is standing in for bailiff Kevin Roscoe, and law clerk Alexi Mincer is sitting in for law clerk Sarah Rose. Brandon Spriere is suing her ex-boyfriend, Christopher Kennard, for a truck title, tickets, and emotional distress.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 3071, Briere versus Kennard.
Thank you. Briere?
Yes.
You and the defendant had a relationship on and off for about 10 years. You have one child together.
We knew each other for 10 years. We were only together for 2 years. But yes, we have a child.
A little girl?
Yes, ma'am.
How old is she?
3.
And is there an adjudicated custody order with regard to this child? You are no longer together.
Right. It's in the process.
But right now, the defendant has physical custody of the child. The defendant has physical custody of the child. And he's had physical custody of the child since when? What month and year?
It's still, the judge hasn't signed
No, he's had physical custody. You left the house month and year.
I left in June of 2021.
That fell off. June 2021?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you left, did your daughter stay with the defendant?
Yes.
That's either a yes or a no.
Yes, Your Honor.
And she has been with the defendant ever since?
Yes.
Do you have visitation with her?
Yes.
When? And under what circumstances?
When I see my stepmom and father, they'll pick her up from him, and then I go over to their house.
So you have supervised visitation?
Correct.
And it's supervised by relatives?
Yes.
Who made that order of supervised visitation?
CPS did.
Child Protective Services?
Yes.
And when did they make that order? What year?
This year,
2023. Prior to Child Protective Services making the order, between June 2021 and 2023, did you have any visitation with your daughter?
Yes.
When? Regular or just...
Yes, regular.
And who set that order?
We agreed to it.
The two of you?
Yes.
What was that agreement?
After I left, about 6 months later, he would allow me to come on Mondays and pick her up. And then if I wanted her for like a weekend trip to go see my sister, he would allow her to do that with me too.
Okay. Was there a trial on the issue of custody?
Yes.
Did you testify?
Yes.
Did the defendant testify?
Yes.
Did Child Protective Services testify?
No.
Did the child have an attorney, a law guardian?
No.
At the trial? Did you have a lawyer?
Yes.
Did you have a lawyer?
No, ma'am.
That trial took place in what month?
There was no trial, Your Honor. We had got mediation, ended up doing mediation.
May I see it, please? Okay, so you have physical custody of the child and exclusive right to do most everything.
Yes, Your Honor.
With regard to the child, the plaintiff has the right to consent to a marriage for her. Well, she's only 3. And there's a supervised day visits for the plaintiff only. And we're going to get to the case in a minute. I'm just trying to figure this out for the purposes of the counterclaim that I have. His counterclaim that I have, one of the grounds for that counterclaim is that you claimed the child as a deduction on your tax returns for the year 2022, and therefore he lost out on a certain amount of money. Lexi's going to tell me what that was. Do you work?
Yes, Your Honor.
Who do you work for?
I work for 3 gun ranges as a referee, and I also bartend at a bar in Houston.
You pay child support?
Yes, Your Honor.
How much?
I have 2 other children, so...
I didn't ask you about your 2 other children. I asked you how much do you pay for this child and child
In November, I start paying $100
So you
a month.
paid 0?
Yes.
You've paid, just a second, up until now, you've paid 0?
Correct.
That's from 2021, when you left, June of 2021, until now, you've paid zero.
Yes, Your Honor.
And from June 2021 until now, the child's primary physical custody has rested with her father.
Yes, because he was not allowing me to see her.
I don't care whether he was allowing you or not. You go to court if you're allowing me. Who's this, the boyfriend?
My fiance.
Hi, and I'm also a
Fiance,
witness.
boyfriend. Well, you got to be more interested in seeing your child for 6 months. Then nobody can withhold. Don't move. So let's get rid of the counterclaim first. You claimed the child as a deduction on your tax returns?
Yes, Your Honor.
You had no right to do that, I don't think. Lexi, tell me what the IRS says about claiming a child as a dependent.
Brandon's Briere claims her ex-boyfriend, Christopher Kennard, refuses to give her title to her truck. Christopher is countersuing Brandon's for wrongfully claiming their daughter on her taxes.
You claimed the child as a deduction on your tax returns?
Yes, Your Honor.
You had no right to do that, I don't think. Lexi, tell me what the IRS says about claiming a child as a dependent.
It's the custodial parent, which is the one that the child has lived with a greater number of nights during the year.
So far, he's the custodial parent. Do you work?
Right now, I'm disabled.
So you get disability. How much?
No, ma'am. I'm still waiting on that.
Who do you live with?
Right now, I live with my uncle.
And your daughter lives with you?
Yes, ma'am.
So who's supporting you?
Right now, I'm running out of funds, but I've been supporting us both, me and my daughter.
Okay. Lexi, does it say how much the deduction is?
Not on this side, it doesn't, but I can check.
Yeah. I think it's $2,500, but I'm not sure. While he's looking that up, Ms. Briere, what made you think that you could claim this child as a deduction on your tax returns?
There was not a custody agreement at the time, and I was trying to get her full-time.
I would be trying to fix a lot of things, including the fact that I'm short and my roots grow out much sooner than I would like them to grow out, but that doesn't mean that it happens. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm trying, I was thinking. So you understood when you claimed her as a deduction on your tax returns that it was the wrong thing to do. You were not supporting her and she was not in your custody.
I did do some research on it, but since there wasn't a custody agreement, we would flip-flop each year. So
who said flip-flop? Why would you flip-flop? You're neither supporting her or does she live with you? Why in the world would you think that you were entitled to claim her on your tax returns?
You're right, Your Honor.
Of course I'm right. Hustler. Lexi, you're going to give me a figure in a second. I'm going to move on. Okay? So that's an easy for you, sir. You're going to get that money back.
Thank you.
Your claim is that you had a truck that you took. It wasn't your truck. It was a truck that was either in both your names or in just his name that you took when you left in 2021. You want the title to it.
Yes.
Okay. So in whose name is this truck?
The title doesn't have a name.
Title always has to have a name. Do you have the title to the truck?
No, ma'am. It's in the broker's name still because $300 is still owed on it, which I didn't pay. So that way.
Well, that's a lien. That's usually a lien. You have a number?
It's $2,000 per qualifying dependent.
Okay, great. Now, when was the truck purchased?
Purchased it in 2020, 21?
It was 2020, Your Honor.
2020.
Now, she took the truck with her when she left, is that?
No, ma'am.
When did she take the truck?
She left and my Toyota 4Runner was gone for 2 weeks, never called about our child or anything.
That was in 2020 or
Yes.
2021?
When she left.
That was in 2021?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so she took the 4Runner.
Yes, ma'am.
So you had two cars. You had this truck and a 4Runner.
Yes, ma'am.
When you left in 2021, did you, yes or no, did you take the 4Runner?
Yes.
What happened to the 4Runner?
I brought it back the next night, in the middle of the night, and I left the keys in the cup holder because he had to be at work, even though I left.
Just a second. So.
Sorry.
So you took the 4Runner when you left, and according to you, you brought it back, and then you took the truck.
Yes.
What did you take the 4Runner for to begin with?
Because I had gone to a meeting that night and for AA, and I went to a meeting and they gave me support to leave him because he was very emotionally.
Would you please tell me what you took the 4Runner?
Because I went to the meeting in the 4Runner.
That's an answer. And you left.
Yes.
You didn't go back. You just left in the 4Runner.
Correct.
On what date?
June 27th, 2021.
Now you want to tell me what happened to the Forerunner? Be very careful. Real careful. What happened to the Forerunner?
Yes, Your Honor.
Be very careful.
Yes.
Really careful.
Okay. I returned it the next night in the middle of the night. And
in the same condition as when you took
Yes.
In the same condition as when you took it.
Yes,
You
Your Honor.
returned the Forerunner.
Correct.
And you took the truck.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why?
Because I already had suitcases in the truck packed.
Why didn't you just take the suitcases out of the truck and put them in the Forerunner?
Because I drove the truck every day to work. He would drive the Forerunner, I would drive the truck. So that's why they were in there. But I took his car to the meeting.
So you were planning. No.
Yes.
Yeah. So you were planning on leaving before you went to the meeting. If you packed your suitcases and left them in the truck and then went to your AA meeting and didn't return home, then you were planning on leaving him before you went to the meeting.
Correct. I had him in there for about a month.
Well, who was using the truck? Just you?
Yes.
Well, if just you were using the truck, I still am not understanding why you took the Forerunner.
I'm not recalling that day either. I just went to my meeting and then...
You're not recalling that?
Right. I just remember...
When she left, did she take the Forerunner?
Yes, ma'am. And the truck had absolutely no suitcases or anything in it, because I had just taken it to a mechanic several days before to have the engine block looked at. No, the radiator, excuse me. They were going to have to replace it.
What happened to the Forerunner?
She left in the Forerunner, and 2 or 3 weeks later, not days, she brought it back at 3 or 4 in the morning. The valves were shot. Somebody had been running it hard all night. Basically, she drove it for, I don't know, 2 days, a week. I can't remember the amount of time, but she burned out the motor. She didn't put any oil in it or anything.
Where is that car now?
I ended up selling it for $500 because I couldn't really afford it.
Forerunner. Okay. And she took the truck?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you want the title to the truck?
Yes, ma'am.
You have the truck?
Yes.
Who bought the truck?
We did. We bought 2 cars in 2020 with our stimulus checks. We bought an F-150, the truck that I currently drive, and a Ford Escape that he wrecked during the freeze. And then he sold the Escape, bought the Forerunner, but he drove the Forerunner to work because his job was further than mine. So gas mileage, that's why I drove the truck.
When you returned the Forerunner, was it the next day or was it weeks later?
The next day. I have a witness.
The fiance?
Yes, he was witness to all of it.
I don't care what he has to say. I don't care what he says.
Okay.
Brandon's Briere has accused her ex-boyfriend, Christopher Kennard, of wrongfully keeping the title to her truck. Christopher says Brandon's falsely claimed their daughter on her taxes.
Okay. When you returned the Forerunner, was it the next day or was it weeks later?
The next day. I have a witness.
The fiance?
Yes, he was witness to all of it.
I don't care what he has to say. I don't care what he says.
Okay.
How much is the F-150 worth?
Is it a F-150 regular cab?
Crew cab.
Crew cab.
4-wheel drive.
I have the bill of sale right here if you want to see it.
And the mileage?
I have no clue. It's been a year she's been driving it, so.
Let's put 250,000 miles on it. 22-year-old car, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it a King Ranch short bed, or Harley Davidson?
Short bed. Actually, it's got a long bed, I'm sorry.
And put it in poor condition.
Poor condition.
It actually does have a brand new transmission, radio. I was rebuilding it.
As of 2021?
Yes, ma'am.
For a private party, it would be between $2,400 and $5,100.
2,400?
$2,400, $5,100.
Okay. Do you have the title to the car?
No, ma'am. The actual person I bought it from still has the title. It's going to be a salvage title, and they had to pay $300, and I did not do that because of this going on.
Perfect. Perfect. How much was the total cost of the car?
I think I paid $3,500 for it originally.
$3,900.
$39.
I'd like to see it, please. Well, he's the purchaser of the car.
Yes, Your Honor. So when I had the money to go get the title, and I talked to the broker said I could get the title as long as Christopher comes with me and brings his ID, and we can write the title in my name, which he did agree upon. Then all of a sudden the taxes things came up, and so he said he wasn't going to help me.
Okay. Mr. Kennard, if the plaintiff pays off the broker, which is what, $300
Yes, ma'am.
left? Are you prepared to sign the title over to her?
It's not her vehicle, so why would I want to sign my title over to her?
I have text messages telling.
The only reason she has the title, period, is she blackmailed me.
No.
I needed my child's birth.
Just what I'm asking you is, we're talking about a truck that's been in her possession now for 2 years, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And we're here now, and I have to make a decision. Right? So far, are we correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And it would seem to me smart for you to take everything that has to do with this truck out of your name.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Yes.
Totally. So my question to you is, once I resolve the issue of the child and the deduction for a dependent that she took erroneously in 2022, which I'm going to do, if she pays off the truck, will you consent to the title being put in her name?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a very smart thing. So that makes my life very easy here. On the counterclaim, I'm awarding the defendant $2,000 on your counterclaim, and that is for her erroneously taking the child as a deduction in 2022. Your request for the title to the truck is granted to this extent. Once you pay off the broker, I am directing the defendant to sign off on the title. We are withholding the $2,000 until that happens. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that sound reasonable?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that sound reasonable?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. That's the order of the court.
Your Honor, one other thing.
Yeah.
I also have toll road. She's been running on it. And
Just a second. Just a second. You mean tickets?
I have 86, 82 in tolls she ran in that truck.
$86. $2,086. I didn't have to look at it. I believe you.
And then I also have the report where the demand letter where she stole the vehicle, a police report where she stole the vehicle. And the only reason she ever has any of that is I needed my daughter's birth certificate, which she refused my daughter to have.
Okay, but right now, everybody's going to have a wonderful kumbaya moment. You're going to get the money that you are absolutely entitled to that she wrongfully took, and you're going to be out of the F-150 business, which means if there are tickets on the car, they're hers. She won't be able to register it. If there are tolls on the car, they'll be hers. And if she gets into an accident, nobody can sue you.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that that's a good idea.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, because I'm not quite sure about her. $2,086, judgment on the counterclaim for the defendant, being withheld until the title is cleared with your payment, yours, of $300 to the broker. Great, we're done.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This case is now closed. Court's adjourned.
I am happy I get the truck.
I would have liked to have seen her a little bit more embarrassed, and she's such a bad mother and a bad person, but all in all, at least we can put this behind us.
I wish she would have listened to a little bit more of the way he treated me and the lies that were coming out of his mouth.
She literally showed up one night at 3 o'clock in the morning and took the truck with all my tools and all my equipment in it.
How I took the car, how he didn't give me the truck. He said that I stole it. I did not. He gave it. I had text messages that said, you can have the truck.
Her little boyfriend tells her what to do, and she does it.
He's still mad that I left him 2 years ago.
It's all about her and her daughter. She has nothing to do with any of her 3 children. And she keeps coming. Every time she comes after me, she costs her daughter money. She doesn't realize that.
I still think I had a right to, because he withheld the child from me, and I was trying to get an attorney, and so that is the only reason, because I was trying to fight for my daughter and get her back.
I just hope she goes away.
I hope we can hopefully get along just for the child's sake, but other than that, I never want to see him again.
At least she'll get arrested somewhere and I'll be done.
You know, there was so much more to that case. The social part of it was so much, probably more compelling, because the plaintiff didn't see this child for 6 months. And, you know, if I woke up in the morning and didn't see my toddler next to me for a day, I'd be banging down the courthouse door, and evidently that didn't happen. So it didn't happen because Child Protective Services was involved, and I assume Child Protective Services was involved for a reason. And in addition, there's supervised visitation. Supervised visitation usually means that there's some issue. And this was supervised visitation as a result of a mediation. Got to keep your fingers crossed for this 2-year-old. I think everybody left happy. What's your impression?
I agree.
Two brothers fighting with each other. And you went upstairs and retrieved your gun.
To use it in self-defense if he was going to choke me again.
That never happened.
I had been choked 3 times.
When he was pointing a gun at me and my son, I had to put him behind me just in case he decided to fire a shot off.
Really? This child was there.
This is Judy Justice. Shay McNulty and Amanda Warren are suing Shay's brother, Desmond Fairbanks, for lost wages, hotel bills, and injuries from an assault.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 3091, McNulty Warner versus Fairbanks.
Got it. Mr. McNulty, this is your brother?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is your fiancé?
Correct.
And the two of you were living in your grandfather's house?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was also your grandfather?
Yes, ma'am.
Also living in the house was your son?
No, we had not moved in at that moment.
But you were planning on moving in with your son?
Yes, ma'am.
An incident occurred when you came to the house.
Yes.
And your brother and Miss Warren were there. And there was an altercation on May 8th of last year. Mr. McNulty, you work as a security guard?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you're licensed to carry a gun?
I have a CCW, concealed carry weapons license.
And how long have you had that?
Over 1.5 years as of today.
I'm going to do a general picture. You came with your son?
Yes.
I don't know whether to look at the room that you were going to move into. The two of you have a history of not getting along, or just...
We just don't talk. I don't really associate with them anymore.
Well, prior to May 8th, you didn't associate with them either.
Yes.
Okay. I want you to tell me what happened when your brother arrived with his son.
Well, when they got there on May 8th, it was about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning.
Did you know that they were moving in?
We found out 2 weeks prior. It was brought to our attention, but there was no specific date.
Okay, so who told you?
He notified us first via face-to-face conversation while he was at the house a previous day prior to the incident taking
Okay,
place.
so you knew they were coming. And on May 8th, they arrived in the morning.
Yes.
And your fiancé was less than pleased that they were there.
Yes.
Okay. And is there any particular reason why your fiancé was less than pleased that your brother was coming to his grandfather's house?
Just because of the comment that she made that people show up unannounced without us knowing or surprising us.
It's not her house.
I understand. No, she was just upset that he showed up. And then that's when she had made the comment that people show up unannounced, and that was what started the events.
Yeah. She should probably butt out of business that doesn't involve her. Does your fiancé work?
Yes, she does.
Does she contribute to the household? In what way
Yes.
does she contribute?
We were paying the utilities for the house. That was it, because the house is paid off.
But your grandfather lives there, does he not?
Yes, he does.
He doesn't charge you rent?
No, he only said pay half the utilities. And
Okay,
that was
so
all
he doesn't
required.
charge you rent. You'd have to pay all the utilities if you lived someplace else.
Yes, correct.
So there's an altercation on May 8th because your fiancé starts up with your brother, who clearly you knew was coming 2 weeks before.
Yes, 2 weeks, yes.
And you're going to tell me about this combat that took place. But at some point, you left this place where you were all fighting with each other, and you went upstairs and retrieved your gun.
Yes, my firearm out of the safe.
And when you came downstairs, the police were there.
Not at the time, Your Honor.
What did you do with the gun when you came downstairs with the gun? You retrieved the gun.
Yes, Your Honor.
You went downstairs, and what was your intention to do with the gun?
At that time, my intention was to use it in self-defense if he was going to choke me again. I had been choked 3 times.
Now, you've extricated yourself from this situation. You managed to go upstairs. You could also go outside.
Yes.
You could go anywhere, but you went upstairs to get a gun.
Yes.
To bring downstairs. And you weren't in danger when you were upstairs, right?
Correct.
So then you come downstairs, police arrive, and they arrest you.
Yes.
And they arrest you on what charges?
The original 3 charges were assault, domestic violence, and aggravated menacing.
Did you point the gun at your brother?
After he tried
Just a second.
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
You have to understand.
Yes, Your Honor.
Once you're able to withdraw from a situation that clearly was precipitated by her, but you're able to withdraw from it. You can't go someplace else and get a gun and come down and shoot him or menace him because you have an alternative. And your alternative is you're safe. You're upstairs. Lock yourself in a bathroom. Go out the back door. You subsequently pled guilty. You got a deal. They gave you, according to you, a disorderly conduct.
Yes, Your Honor.
As a result of the same incident. I don't care what you pled guilty to. You pled guilty. And now you're suing him for the following. Hotel bills, because you and your fiance had to move out of your grandfather's house where you weren't paying rent. That's part of your lawsuit.
Yes.
That's dismissed. Lost wages. Well, you had lost wages because you work as a security guard. In order to work as a security guard, you need a gun, correct?
No, I'm unarmed.
Really?
Yes, I'm unarmed.
So what did you need a gun for?
Shay McNulty and Amanda Warren claim Shay's brother, Desmond Fairbanks, owes for injuries resulting from an assault. Desmond is countersuing, saying he was assaulted by Shay.
So what did you need a gun for?
At that time, after I was choked 3 times, it was in case I needed it. I had retreated back into the house to get away from him, and he followed me the third time.
No. I thought you needed the gun for your job because you're also suing for lost wages.
No, the gun has nothing to do with my job. I'm unarmed security for the state of Ohio.
Okay, so then what did he have to do with you being out of work for 5 months?
Because he called my boss and told him, and I also have a statement from my boss saying that he did receive a call from him, and because he did call him, that he has to suspend me without pay.
Because you brandished a gun.
No, it was just because of the fact.
No, he told your boss that you had brandished a gun.
I don't know if he told him that.
Well, why do you think you were suspended from your job?
Because he called them to make them aware of the situation, and because I am a security officer, I have a guard card. The Homeland Security suspended it because I was away from work. He had called my boss and spoke to him directly.
That's all right. He's allowed to do that. You pled guilty. If you pled guilty to disorderly conduct, you pled guilty to being the aggressor. Whether it was an assault or an attempted assault, a battery, you pled guilty. That's the same thing as being found guilty by a jury. He's allowed to call your boss and say, you don't want this guy around. He's got a gun. And he came downstairs and he was brandishing the gun, threatening me, menacing me. And I had a child there with me, a 5-year-old child. His child was there, right?
His child was outside.
His child was there.
Off of the property. But yes, he was there.
Well, of course.
He was off of the property.
What do you mean off the property? He was in somebody else's house?
No, he was outside sitting on a tailgate on the street in the truck, in the back of the truck bed. He wasn't on the property when this incident happened. He wasn't around to...
You mean he was alone, by himself?
Yes.
Out there, 5 years old?
Yes.
Is that correct?
No, Your Honor, that's not correct. When he was pointing a gun at me and my son, I had to put him behind me just in case he decided to fire a shot off.
Where were you when he pointed the gun?
On our back porch steps.
Outside?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you both on the back porch?
Myself, my son, him, and Amanda were all on the back steps at that moment. He had the gun.
Okay, so he's allowed to call your boss. I don't think that you should have a gun anyway. If you think that you had the right under these circumstances to go up, get it, come down, and brandish it. Okay, lost wages, he doesn't owe you. If you got suspended from your job, if you got fired from your job, so be it. Hotel bills. Why do you think he should pay your hotel bills? I'll get to the incident in a second, maybe. Why do you think he should pay your hotel bills?
Because we were essentially illegally thrown out. We didn't receive any type of notice, and there was a protective
It's not
order.
his house, it's your grandfather's house. Why don't you sue your grandfather?
If my grandfather wasn't there to witness
It doesn't make any difference. He can't throw you out of the house. Only your grandfather can throw you out. Did your grandfather throw you out?
No, he didn't throw me out, but my mother was the one who told her while I was in jail that she didn't want us living there, but she doesn't live there. She gets the house when my grandfather passes away.
She is the daughter of your grandfather. So she told you on your grandfather's behalf to get out of the house. What are you suing him for? He can't tell you to get out of the house. Only the owner can tell you to get out of the house. And the fact that he doesn't have to give you any notice, he doesn't own it. You get it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Hotel bills. You have to start taking care of yourself. What kind of work do you do other than a security guard?
Yeah, I had to start up a small business while I was doing this to supplement my income.
Good. And what does your girlfriend do?
She works customer service.
Where?
At a retail store, big box store.
Okay, so you have enough money to pay rent someplace, to go find someplace, pay rent, and live like two adults. How old are you?
I'm 36, Your Honor.
And you?
36.
Well, then, live like grown-ups. Don't live in your grandfather's house. Go pay rent.
We moved there to help his grandfather because he's 86 years old. He needed help around the house.
Well, evidently not anymore.
He just asked us to move in. I moved her out of her house into his house, and we moved in. He just said that.
When? How long?
This was February 12th of 2023.
Okay, so you moved in February.
We were there
and you
for
were
a total
told to
of
leave.
3 months.
What?
We were there for, I believe, a total of 3 months, from February to May.
Okay, so you have to find yourself a place to live. Actual damages for assault. Now, you pled guilty, so I'm not interested in whatever assault took place. You pled guilty to being the aggressor in this incident. Are you claiming that you were assaulted as a result of this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now tell me exactly in your words how the defendant assaulted you.
He had Mr. McNulty in a chokehold.
Just a second. That's not how it started. It started because you said to him...
I made a comment under my breath. People like to show up unannounced. He didn't like what I had to say.
What did he say to you?
He got in my face and said, "What did you say? What the hell did you say? I want to hear what you have to say." And that's when Mr. McNulty stepped in between us, put his arms out and said, "Hey, don't talk to her like that. Just go in the house. Just go in the house. She wasn't talking to you."
You were talking to him. You were talking to him.
Not directly. Not directly.
You were nasty.
But at that point, Mr. Fairbanks pushed him down the step. They got into a physical altercation.
When you said that your fiancé separated you, explain to me exactly how that happened.
So Mr. Fairbanks was standing in front of me. Mr. McNulty jumped in between us and put his arms out and said, "Hey, that's enough. Don't talk to her like that."
Okay, put his hands out. Didn't touch anybody.
No.
Okay, and then what happened?
And then Mr. Fairbanks laid his hands on Mr. McNulty first and pushed him down the step.
Is that correct?
No, Your Honor, it's not correct.
Okay, but we're not talking about his assault, okay? He pled guilty to whatever happened that day. I want to hear how he assaulted you.
I'm getting to that.
Well, get there.
So he had attacked Mr. McNulty from behind and got him in a chokehold, kind of blindsided him. So at that point, I was like, okay, what do I do? I had to pull Mr. Fairbanks off of Mr. McNulty.
How did you do that?
I was on the phone with 911, kind of got my arm around him.
Got your arm around his what?
His face. I was trying to pull him off of Mr. McNulty.
Use your fiancé as an example of how you tried to pull him off. Show me on him.
So he was on top of Mr. McNulty. He had his back to me. So I, came up and tried to pull him off.
You put your arm around his neck?
Not his neck.
On his what?
Like right here, right in this area. I didn't put it around his neck.
Okay.
At that point, he turned around, pushed me in the face, and pushed me down the back porch stairs.
And?
Which resulted in me going to the hospital. I was 8 months out of an ACL reconstruction at that point. And when I hit the ground, the impact from hitting the ground damaged that knee that I had just had fixed.
Did you put your hands on him first?
Shay McNulty and Amanda Warren are accusing Shay's brother, Desmond Fairbanks, of owing for injuries resulting from an assault. Desmond is countersuing, claiming he was the one assaulted.
Did you put your hands on him first?
To pull him off. Yes.
I don't care what you did. Did you put your hands on him first? He had two brothers fighting with each other.
We're not fighting. He was choking him.
Okay. And you put your hands on him first?
To get him off, yes.
Okay. And he pushed you off?
He threw me down the stairs.
Well, you got your hands around him. I want you to explain to me how he threw you down the stairs.
He let go of Mr. McNulty, stood up, turned around, put his hand in my face, and threw me down the stairs.
Okay. Now I'd like to see your hospital records.
I have private insurance.
No. Hospital records. This happened on May 8th, so I want to see your records from May 8th. That hospital record. Okay, they gave you Tylenol.
They did a lot of x-rays.
They gave you Tylenol.
Yeah, but if you look in the description, it says that there's possible loosening of an ACL screw.
I have no idea, madam. You have a counterclaim.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your counterclaim is for assault and actually menacing. You say threatening the life of myself and my son. You actually mean menacing with a gun. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. I would like you to tell me how you were assaulted and what your injuries were.
Assaulted by Mr. McNulty, and I was defending myself against him, walking through the gates with my child right behind me. She did make a comment under her breath. I guess anyone can just show up unannounced. I did not get in her face at that point. Mr. McNulty pretty much got in my face, started pushing me away. There was no type of trying to separate us. That never happened, trying to separate us. We went straight into fighting with each other. Tried to defend myself because my son was directly behind me. I didn't want him getting hurt, try to keep myself protected. So I did everything I could to make that happen.
Do you have any injuries as a result of that?
Yes, Your Honor, I did receive a busted lip, a couple of scratches on my neck.
Do you have any
arm.
photographs?
Yes,
And you have
I do,
a
Your
police
Honor.
report. I'd like to see it. How did you get the busted lip?
Busted lip was from Mr. McNulty when he did punch me in the face.
Do you have any photographs of your injuries, sir?
Your Honor, I did not have any injuries because I was simply...
Just a second, I'm just asking you.
No, I do not, Your
You
Honor.
do not?
I do not have any injuries.
Yeah. Your son wasn't injured, was he?
Thankfully, he was not. I did my best to keep him behind me as much as possible.
Did you have to hire a lawyer, sir? Did you hire a lawyer to defend you in this proceeding, this criminal proceeding?
Yes.
Where you pled guilty?
Yes, I did have a lawyer.
Did you have a public defender or did you hire a lawyer?
I had a personal lawyer.
And how much did you pay him?
It was free. I pay a membership for a gun lawyer. They protect you against gun thefts. It's a program for gun advocates. They hire a lawyer. You get up to a $50,000 bail if you go to jail and a firearm or something like that is involved.
Who hit you?
Physically punched me, Mr. McNulty. All the scratches came from Miss Warren.
Are you still living at your grandfather's house?
Yes, Your Honor, I am.
Where does your mother live?
My mother lives in her house.
You live there with your son?
My son comes and goes between me and his mother.
How is your grandfather?
Grandfather's doing pretty well. He still goes to work every single day, takes care of himself.
What kind of work does he do?
He is a retired mechanic, and now in his free time, he works across the street at the cemetery. He likes to keep it going.
Got it. Okay. Mr. McNulty, Miss Warren, your claim against the defendant for money owed for lost wages, hotel bills, and assault is dismissed in its entirety.
I have photos of my injuries.
I don't
as well.
care.
And I had to have a knee replacement as a result of him throwing.
Get me an expert. You can tell that story to somebody else.
I have pictures of the knee replacement.
Did you hear what I said?
Yes, ma'am.
You get an expert here. You don't get $10,000 because you say, I had to have a knee replacement. How do I know that you had to have a knee replacement? You had a pre-existing injury. And you precipitated this whole thing, and you put your hands on him first. You put your hands on him
Well, I mean,
first.
what is someone supposed to do when someone's being choked?
I don't know. But if you put your hands on him first, he's going to react to you. He's going to react to you. And he had no physical injury. Zero, according to him. So you put your hands on him first. If he turns around and shoves you down the stairs, well, that's what happens when you put your hands on somebody. Somebody gets the short end of the stick in an assault. And just because you may have gotten the short end of the stick doesn't give you the right to put your hands on him. Aside from the fact that your big mouth started this whole thing between the two brothers anyway. Judgment on the counterclaim for $5,000 for both the assault, which I see pictures of, and for menacing with the gun. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I think it was very unfair, and I think that my brother essentially lied and did not tell the complete truth.
She kind of came up with a story on her own, and she saw the truth, and that's all that matters.
Once he came down and did not present himself as a threat, the firearm was set down and pointed to the side. Yes, I did point it at him, but that was when he was still showing signs of aggression and trying to force himself back into the house. It was then pointed at him and let him know that the door was locked for his safety and ours, and if he comes in and continues to aggress towards me, I would shoot him in self-defense.
Looking down the barrel of a gun, having that gun pointed at my son's face, definitely did not want him to go through that. I definitely didn't want to go through that, and I hope he can definitely forget that and never remember this day at all.
If he was going to continue to harm me and cause me to fear for my life, yes. At that point in time, it doesn't matter related or not. If you cause me to fear for my life, yes. In self-defense, I have that right, and I oblige by it.
Just glad we can put this behind us now.
He had him in a rear chokehold. I mean, you don't walk up behind somebody and choke them just for giggles, you know what I mean?
It didn't happen how she said it did.
I still don't associate with them or my mother as well. If anything, we're actually going to grow further apart, and I'm perfectly okay with that, and my life's going to continue on and business as usual.
It's time to go separate ways.
So something so interesting was that in his papers, it said that he had pled guilty, and there wasn't much discussion about him hiring a lawyer, or like you said, whether he had a public defender. I've never heard of a club to be a part of to keep lawyers on retainer solely for the purpose of firearm charges and people with firearms getting into trouble to get them out of it. But apparently it must have worked because he got his gun back the next day or a few...
No. He got his gun back after he pled guilty, which took 5 months.
Yeah, no, after he had pled guilty.
After he pled guilty.
Very quickly was he returned his gun.
Because he pled guilty to a misdemeanor. If he had had a felony, he wouldn't have been able to get his gun back.
But that's an interesting setup for gun owners and gun enthusiasts.
Yeah, I never heard of it before.
Me neither.
To have somebody that you pay in, probably pay him $50 a month, and it's a whole club and everybody pays him, and hopefully he doesn't get tapped too often. You find out something new every day. Concierge gun lawyer. Interesting.
Case 2150, Thomas Williams versus Gilmore. All parties please step forward.
Diamond Thomas and Rumby Williams are suing Rumby's former friend, Shamia Gilmore, for a deposit and the costs of a brunch.
Diamond, this is your boyfriend.
Yes.
And you were planning a baby shower?
It was actually a sip and see for her.
What is that?
So it's like family and friends weren't allowed to really come to the hospital, so we decided to have a little event after the baby turned 6 weeks.
Okay, so that was October 22nd.
Yes.
You hired Miss Gilmore as the caterer of that little event. She quoted you a price of $500 to cater the event, and you gave her a $250 deposit.
Correct.
Then some stuff bothered you a little bit because you, according to what I read, you found some either text messages or whatever between the defendant and boyfriend, which you felt were a little too cozy by her.
Yes.
And you gave her a buzz and you sort of had it out with her. I don't want you to do this anymore, whatever. Anyway, you called her back and said, yes, I want you to do it. She ended up not doing this sip and see. And she finally called you and said, I'm not doing it. I don't like the attitude. I'm not doing it. And you said, fine, give me my $250 back. She said no. So you're suing her for not only your deposit back, $250, you did hire other people to cater the event.
No, we did it ourselves.
And you want her to pay $1,025 because you said that that's what it cost you over and above $250 plus the rest.
Yes.
Well, that you can't have.
Thomas and Rumby Williams claim Rumby's former friend, Shamia Gilmore, owed for a deposit and the cost of a brunch.
Okay, you're going to tell me you chose not to do this shower. You chose not to do it.
Well, it's not that I didn't choose not to do it. It's she went to Twitter and threatened to beat butt, and I'm not doing business. If you want to fight me, it's
okay.
It doesn't make sense.
Okay, well, I don't blame you. If she went to Twitter and said something nasty about you, then I wouldn't do her baby shower, sip and see, whatever they call it. I wouldn't do it either. Then you have to give her back her $250.
And I bought items for the brunch already. I offered the mimosa bar back and I offered $125 back. She wants the whole thing. If I already spent money out my pocket, there's no way you think I'm finna give you a whole $250. That doesn't make sense.
Well, just a second. Okay, let me see what she wrote about you on Twitter.
And also, Judge.
So what you're saying is you actually made a purchase.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you have proof of that purchase that you made?
I have the mimosa bar. I don't have it with me, but I didn't print anything off.
I don't even know what that is. What is a mimosa bar?
So it's where you put the mimosa glasses on it's a grass wall. I bought one before, but I still have it brand new.
Just a second. Have you used it before? You're a caterer.
But it has where you hang the cups up on the wall with the mimosa glass, like the champagne flutes that you put on the wall. And then it has...
Have you used that before?
Yes, ma'am.
How many times?
Quite a few.
How many?
2 hands, maybe 7 or 8 times.
Okay. And you buy a new one each time you use it?
Yes, ma'am. I let them keep it.
Just a second. You let them keep it. Well, now you can keep this one and use it next time.
Okay.
And I would like to say something about the $950 that she owes us. We gave her a deposit of $250, and she is claiming that we had made anything threatening towards her.
No, just a second.
And she canceled on us. And so I feel that we didn't have enough ample time to be able to find another caterer to do our event.
Well, that's too bad.
Can I ask why?
Absolutely, because you're entitled to your money back, but your contract was for her to do a party, which she ended up not doing.
Can we see the contract? Because I don't.
No, you haven't. We
don't have the contract.
Yeah, and
yes, you do. You had an agreement. She was going to do an event for you on October 22nd. You agreed for her to do the event for you on October 22nd, and you gave her a $250 deposit. That's a contract. It's an oral contract. You had an offer. You had an acceptance. That's a contract. An offer and acceptance and a meeting of the minds. She was going to do the event for $500. You paid her $250. That was the contract. That doesn't have to be in writing.
We have a verbal agreement via
Well, that's what
Instagram.
That's what I just said.
So it is in writing.
Who cares?
Well, it was the point that how are we supposed to be compensated for everything that we had to do after she canceled us?
Well, you have to grow up. You have a baby.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Is this your only baby?
Yes.
Great, you have a baby. You have to grow up. I grew up so much, the old me would have beat out one of you. What is that?
I'm not sure.
Would you show this to the plaintiff? I'm just curious. She's going to give you back your $250 anyway. She chose not to do the event.
What?
I don't know what that is. I'm showing it to you. She gave me to show me something that you wrote.
You want me to read it?
No, I'm
or
just
you want me to
asking.
tell you what it is?
No, I'm just asking you if you were the author of that.
Yes.
And who did you write it about?
It was just a general statement. It wasn't about anybody in particular. That's why I didn't
give that back.
Direct it. The name.
Very, very easy. Your baby nice? You happy with your baby?
Yes.
Very good. You have nothing to do with her anymore?
No.
Good. You have a mimosa wall? Use it for another event. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $250. We're done here. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I don't agree with the judge's decision.
I'm satisfied with the $250 and knowing that Shamia was wrong to keep our deposit after she canceled on us.
It's just a lot of mess. I won't do business with them ever again.
It is what it is. If she felt some type of way, that's on her.
I'm going to keep on doing what I'm doing.
We just won't ever do business with her again because she is very unprofessional, just like the tweet said.
Do you know it's an exciting day when at my age you learn something new?
We learn a lot of new things here.
Learn a lot of new things here. So I've just about mastered the engagement party, the wedding, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, quinceañeras, christenings, baptisms, baby showers, if I haven't mentioned that, anniversary parties. But this is the first time I ever heard that expression, a sip and see.
Yeah, I think it's a new thing. I think COVID probably played a role in it, about people not wanting to have big parties or interact with large numbers of people, especially before giving birth with all the hospital requirements. So I like the idea. I've only been to one or two, but the idea is you wait for your child to be about 6 weeks old, so they've been vaccinated, and
they're not vaccinated when you're 6
Well, the first round of baby shots, and then they're able to see family and have a baby shower where the baby is included. So
I'll add it to my list of.
I'll see if I could find one for you to go to.
Thank you.
2010 Hickman versus Vensloff. All parties, please step forward.
Vanessa Hickman is suing her trainer, Dylan Vensloff, for an unpaid loan.
Ms. Hickman, your case is relatively simple. You claim that you made a loan to the defendant, who was your personal trainer, when he said he was in a financial bind and he needed rent money, and he made the loan. And he paid some. His wife paid some.
Correct.
He made a couple of payments, but there is still a substantial balance.
Correct.
Mr. Vensloff said that this was not a loan, but prepayment for his training services, and that you sort of backed out of the training/nutrition program. So that's your problem. You lose your money. That's your defense, right?
Yes.
Just curious, before I get started with this case, how much do you get per hour for personal training? No, don't look over there. I want you to know that I know all about this. Everybody that I know except me has a personal trainer. I work out every day. I don't take instruction well, so I don't have a personal trainer. I have a husband who had a personal trainer. All my friends have personal trainers. So now I want you to answer my question, unless there's something extraordinary about you, which there is not. How much do you get per hour for personal training?
$75.
That's a reasonable figure. Just informational purposes. How much money did you take from Miss Hickman?
How much money did I take?
Yes, how much money did you take from me? I haven't decided what it's for, but money exchanged between you, she has proof of how much it was, and you. How much money?
I believe it was $2,300.
Is that right?
Correct.
And on what date did she give you $2,300?
I believe sometime at the end of last year, or it was close to the beginning of this year, somewhere along that time.
Date.
November 22nd, 2021.
And at that time, how long had you been training her? Since when? When did you start with her as a client?
I think like the beginning of summer last year. So I'd say.
Date?
July 2021.
Beginning, middle, or end?
Beginning.
July, August, September, October. So you had been training her for 4 months.
Yes, ma'am.
Up until November 22nd, how much money had she given you for training? Did she pay you by the week? Did she pay you by the month? How did she pay you?
Up front, first.
Okay.
Monthly.
In July.
Yep.
Not yup. That's not yup.
Yes,
Yup
ma'am.
you say to your friends or to your wife. So in July,
Yes.
when you started,
Yes.
she gave you how much?
500.
For the month of July.
Yes, ma'am.
The month of August, how much did she give you?
500.
Is that correct?
Correct.
September,
Same amount, ma'am.
500. October,
Same amount.
November,
Same amount.
the beginning of November.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
not
actually,
yeah is not an answer. The beginning of November, did she give you $500?
No, because that's when we had the agreement.
No. Don't give me agreement nonsense. The beginning of July, she gave you $500.
Yep.
Beginning of August,
Yep.
she gave you $500. Beginning of September,
Yes.
she gave you $500. The beginning of October, she gave you $500. How much did she give you in the beginning of November? This $2,300 was not paid until November 22nd. How much did she give you the beginning of November?
Then it must have been $500.
Is that correct? So now she has given you $2,500
Yes, ma'am.
for 5 months. She's given you $2,500.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Now I want you to tell me what happened in November after you gave him the $2,500.
So we agreed to $100 monthly payments.
This is in November?
November, after we signed the agreement.
What agreement?
The agreement was that.
No, I want to see the agreement. Don't tell me what it
Absolutely.
was. I'd like to see it. Who wrote this?
I did.
Well, I don't actually understand it. It says, I, Mr. Venzloff, hereby accept $2,300 from my client, Vanessa Hickman, in trade and paid in advance for training. This will cover meal plans, planned workouts, in-person training, check-ins, and virtual check-ins from November 22nd, 2021 to May 15th, or 1 month of training and payment plans of no less than $100 a month, starting 12/22/21. I agree to pay back the full amount in 12 months. I actually don't understand what that means, because you agreed to pay back the full amount in 12 months by paying her no less than $100 a month, starting December 2021. First part says you're accepting this $2,300 from your client in trade and paid in advance for training, but that you will pay her $100 a month and be finished paying her in 12 months by 11/22/2022. Okay. So you wrote this up.
Yes.
I don't understand it because it doesn't make sense.
Of course.
So there had to be a reason why you picked this $2,300. He's been training you July, August, September, October, and November. You paid him $500 each month, or about $120 a week. And all of a sudden there's a $2,300. What, is there something that I said funny? All of a sudden there's $2,300. Tell me how the $2,300 came about.
So over the course of those months, we became good friends. I see him 3 times a week. We get to know each other, talk, open up, and we're very friendly with each other. He opened up about me about having financial hardships.
No, he'd opened up. He said to you.
Yeah, he said to me, I need to borrow $2,300.
And you said to him?
Why can't you ask anybody else?
And he said to you?
His girlfriend's father, if he were to ask him, he would pry and find out that he was addicted to cocaine.
That's what he told you?
Correct.
And what did you say to him?
Oh, okay. So if I give you this money, we're going to write an agreement to cover me in case you don't pay me back.
And what did he say?
Okay. And that day on November 22nd, we wrote out the agreement.
No, you wrote the agreement.
Absolutely. I wrote it down, and he gave me a photo of his driver's license that day. And
you have a copy of that driver's license?
I do have a photo on my phone, yes.
I'd like to see it.
Of course.
Claims her trainer, Dylan Venzloff, owes for an unpaid loan. Dylan says it was a trade agreement and not a loan.
Okay. Mr. Venzloff understanding what I said to you before, that everybody that I know has a trainer. Everybody, except me. Nobody that I know has the driver's license of their trainer. Nobody. And I'm very old. Now, can you give me a logical reason why the plaintiff would have a copy of your driver's license in her phone?
To make sure that the trade agreement stays.
What's the trade agreement?
The trade agreement was that she was going to give me the money, and I was going to...
Just a second. Let's go back for a second.
Yeah, no problem.
So what she says, in part, was accurate. Is that what you're telling me?
In part.
That you became friends, you would talk to her, you had a girlfriend, you knew he had a girlfriend.
Correct.
You asked her for money.
Yes, ma'am.
Different amount of money because you were in financial difficulty.
Yes, ma'am.
And that she asked you, why couldn't you ask your girlfriend's father? Because she evidently knew that based upon the fact that you were friends, that you're the wife, girlfriend, whatever, your father has money?
Yes.
Okay. Why couldn't you ask the girlfriend's father, right?
Yes.
She asked you that question?
Yes.
And did you say to her, because I didn't want him to pry?
Yes.
Because I have a cocaine habit?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so she gave you the $2,300?
Yep.
Not yup.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Perfect. And that was on the 22nd of November of last year. After she gave you that money, and you were supposed to, according to this agreement, make $100 a month payments to her. That would took. That's what it says.
Yeah, if I was unavailable.
No, it doesn't say. There's nothing here that says unavailable.
Well, it's actually.
There's nothing. That's why I don't understand this agreement.
Yeah.
You see. Not yet. That's why I don't understand this agreement, because one talks about training and workouts, and one talks about you agreeing to pay her back within 12 months at no less than $100 a month. So it doesn't make any sense. So now I have to figure out what it was that really happened. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this paper says something about $100 a month. Now, did you ever give her $100 a month?
Yes, for a month.
In what months did you give her $100 a month?
I think it was the first 3 months.
And you gave it to her how?
Via Venmo.
Did he give you the first 3 months?
He gave me the last 2 months, and his wife paid me the first month.
That would be you?
Yes.
Stand up, please. Tell me your last name.
Venzloff.
When did you find out that your husband had taken money from the plaintiff?
When she had sent me a message on Instagram asking for me to send her money that he was late on a payment.
And that was in what month?
I believe mid-January she messaged me.
January of 2022.
Correct.
And up until that time, your husband had not told you that he took money from the plaintiff. That's an easy question.
I don't believe so, no.
He had not. Well, that's what it sounded like. You didn't know about it because the first you heard about it was when she sent you a message. So he had not told you that he took money from her before. Now, when you found out, you confronted him about this, did you take money from the plaintiff?
I did.
And what did he tell you?
He told me that he had to pay for rent that month.
Were you living together?
We were already married.
Were you working?
I was.
So you were working, and he was working. He was making money. So if you're the wife, you say, what do you mean? We need money for rent. I'm working. You're working. What's it all about? Did you know he had a drug problem?
That was when I found out.
Okay. Well, that's a fair question. I like the honesty. Did you have discussions with him about that?
Yes.
Did he go into rehab?
Yes.
Great. When did he go into rehab?
He went for a week in December into a detox, and then he went for a month this last June, I believe.
Because he had a relapse?
Yes.
How long was it in June?
30 days.
During December and June, had he ever been arrested?
No.
So he did this voluntarily?
Yes.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Take a breath. All fine. Your husband owes her $1,800. That's what she's suing for. That's what he owes her. He knows he owes her that money. She was doing a good thing. She was being kind to him. And probably, ultimately, if he stays clean, saved his life. Mm-hmm. Reasonable, because but for that, you wouldn't have found out, you wouldn't have forced him to take some action. Is that what happened?
Yes.
Did you have a drug problem?
I don't know.
Does your father still not like him?
They're best friends.
They're best friends?
Yes.
Interesting. I'm absolutely shocked. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,800. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
I thought that she handled it very well. I didn't need to go over all the details. She did that all for me.
Honestly, it was a trade agreement, which it clearly states in the first part, so I had the entire year.
I don't think that he could have sent me the payments. I had to keep
To either pay her back or train her, and she served me before the contract was even up.
crying and messaging him for it. I think court was where it needed to be settled.
All she wanted was the money back, but I told her I was completely available. Then she moved out of the area.
He's a great trainer, absolutely amazing trainer, hands down. Borrowing money, not the smartest decision.
Well, I think he could have handled the situation differently, but I think he was trying to do his best to get us out of a sticky situation.
I think it's about time to find someone else.
I remember my law school days, Sarah. Not clearly, but I remember my law school days. And you know how important it is, I always say you should have a writing. But you're supposed to have a writing that's clear. And I know that there's a rule of law that if a contract or an agreement is ambiguous, that a third party can't figure out, fact finder can't figure out, you're allowed to go beyond that contract. So your experience in law school is much closer. What the intent of the parties was. Was it a training agreement, which is what he said, which is a lot of baloney? Was it a loan that...
I did just study this, so it's true that if a fully integrated agreement, meaning that it's clear, the meeting of the minds between parties is clear to a third-party fact finder, then usually outside evidence is not allowed because you clearly have what the meeting of the minds of the parties was. However, in a case like this, when it's more ambiguous or the terms are ambiguous or you're not quite clear what the meeting of the minds was for, a loan, like you said, or training, you're allowed to bring in outside evidence to gap fill those sort of ambiguous
and to
terms.
figure out what the intent of the parties was.
Exactly. So for that exact reason, but I can appreciate that she had enough wherewithal to know that she should have something written. Maybe next time she'll make it just a little clearer for...
Ellen Henderson is suing her ex-roommate, Tara Williams, for breaking a lease and filing a false restraining order.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2023, Henderson versus Williams.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Henderson, you and your kids and Miss Williams and her kids decided to rent a house together.
Yes.
And when was that initially?
We moved in January 21st of 2021.
How large a house was it?
5-bedroom.
And who moved in with you?
Me, my 2 children, Tara, her 3 children, and...
The third roommate?
Yes.
What was your share of the rent?
The share of the rent.
Yours?
$14.95.
And yours?
We paid, me and her split it, and then took cash from...
The third roommate?
Yes. So $14.95 too.
And you lived there for a year. What I gather is sort of towards the end of the year, things were getting a little testy between the two of you, either because of you or because of the kids. You had children, and things weren't working out, so that both of you were not real happy with each other. That be a fair statement?
Yes. It started earlier in 2021.
I'm sure, but at the time that the lease was up, you both weren't really happy with each other. And according to your complaint, she left, you were stuck paying the rent, and she had signed a renewal of the lease, and you want her to pay her portion of the rent until you found a new roommate, which you actually found a new roommate several months later. The defendant says she told you that she was contemplating living with you for another year, that her speculation that you went into her room and took a signed copy of the lease and gave it to the rental agent or whoever it was.
It would have been in the kitchen in my area where my papers were.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And it was never her intention to sign a second lease. Your lease was up in January of 2022.
Yes.
The defendant was away for a period of time. When was the defendant away? Just prior to January of 2022.
She went to Hawaii for a week.
When?
I think she left on January 8th, give or take a day, I don't remember.
And did you return the signed copies of the lease to the landlord?
No, they were turned in December.
By both of you?
For the lease renewal, all 3 of us re-signed in December. And I have a copy of that.
What I'm asking you is, were they turned in, because that's very easy to verify, were they all turned in before she went to Hawaii?
Yes.
Okay. I'll see what you have. Well, Miss Williams, If it's your statement that she took your signed copy of the lease and turned it in without your permission at some point when you were in Hawaii, that's what you're alleging. If this doesn't bear that out, Ms. Williams, I'm going to tell you, it doesn't lend itself to the truth of that statement because this indicates that the two of you and the third roommate signed this on December the 19th. Then you turned it in. Then it was turned in. That was before you went to Hawaii. The landlord signed it on December 20th, which means that if the landlord signed it on December 20th, he signed it before you went to Hawaii, which means she couldn't have stolen your copy of the lease.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yeah, no, I'm not stating I was in Hawaii when she turned it in. I left for Hawaii January 8th through the 18th.
I understand that.
Okay. I was unaware.
When our lease was up for renewal, we weren't getting along, and I was on the fence about spending another year with Ellen. In December, we received a copy of the lease renewal. I felt pressured into signing it, but then we told Ellen we needed more time, just you. I had to leave town. Well, I don't know, you don't have any witness here because you say I had to leave town, so I decided to hold on to the lease until I returned. Where did you go?
I went to Hawaii.
Well, that was in January.
Yes.
Well, but the landlord got a copy of the signed agreement December 20th.
I didn't know it was turned in.
Oh, well,
Receive an
I
email.
don't know whether it was turned in or not.
So I emailed Rincon,
okay.
and I have messages stating it was received from Ellen.
Okay. I'll see what you have. Okay. No. This doesn't say that at all. Lease renewal was signed by all three tenants. Correct. Lease was signed by all three tenants, and it was received before you went to Hawaii on the 20th of December. Okay. Easy. You moved out in February?
January 31st of 22.
When was the first lease up?
The 22nd of January 22.
So you stayed on after the lease was up?
Yes.
Why?
I wasn't completely moved out yet. I was in
that's
Hawaii.
bad.
I had reached out to Rincon about paying extra to pay the extra few days.
No. Okay. And when did you get a new roommate?
Ellen Henderson claims her ex-roommate, Tara Williams, broke their lease and filed a false restraining order against her. Tara is countersuing for a security deposit, utilities, and damaged property.
Okay. When did you get a new roommate?
She moved in April 18th.
Did she pay January's rent?
Yes.
So you're talking about February and March.
February, March, and then prorated April.
Well, February and March, $14.95, $29.90. Okay, the next part of your case involves filing for a false restraining order. Did you file a restraining order, Miss Williams, against Miss Henderson?
Yes.
I'd like to see what it says. No, don't give me that whole thing. Your application for a restraining order, I'd like to see what your application for... Don't hand them that whole thing. I said I'd like to see what your application for a restraining order said. Okay, so what you say is she sent you 3 letters. You're asking because she sent you 3 letters. They were annoying. I want to know what she was asking for in those letters. Was she asking for rent money? Was she asking for rent?
Yes.
Okay, so she was asking for her money.
Yes.
For your rent money for the months that she didn't have a roommate. Well, that's not harassment, madam.
There's more, but...
What?
There's more. She's telling me that I stole some of her stuff and stuff. In the first letter, it says, if you don't pay this in 5 days, we'll take...
Yeah, she's allowed to say that. Okay.
Yeah, which
so
is
she wrote
totally
to you.
fine, but she sent it 2 more times, emailed it, and then showed up at my children's school while I was dropping them off.
Did you keep blowing her off, or did you answer her?
No, I
No, just a second.
I did not.
Did you blow her off, or did you answer? So the answer is you blew her off.
Yes, I was fine with going to court.
You blew her off.
Yes.
About the rent, which she was stuck with.
Right.
Right. Okay, good. $29.90 is what she owes you for rent. Now, part of your counterclaim for get money for damages, you get security deposit. How much was her security deposit?
We paid equally between me and her.
No, how much did she pay?
It was half of...
How much was your security deposit?
$1,747.50.
1,747. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And where is her security deposit?
In our lease, it states that if you break the lease, the deposit stays with the house. And I have an email from the property management stating that same thing, that she signed a lease saying that if she leaves early, the money stays with the house until everyone moves out.
So the security deposit, if you and your new roommate keep the house safe, you're going to get back.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. And you don't allege any damage. Is that correct?
I had to clean up the carpets in her room upstairs. And
okay, do you have an invoice for that?
No, I did it myself.
Okay, 2990 less 1747?
$1,243.
So far, she owes you $1,243. That's less the security deposit, which you and your hopefully neat roommate will get back.
May I say something about the payments for rent? So it was me and her doing equal rent at $1,795.25. So that's what I paid. Me and her paid that in January, and I paid the entire amount in February, March.
I understand she was no longer paying rent. You're getting the rent, but I'm deducting from that.
My portion is $1,795, and that's what I'm asking her for, because that's what her portion was when she moved out as well.
Just a second. Am I correct that she, at the time you moved in, individually paid as a security deposit $1,747? Is that correct?
Yeah, but I'm talking about the rent payments. It's not $1,495, it's $1,795.
Was your rent each month $1,495 or $1,795?
$1,495.
Can I see it? Anybody have any proof of that?
I printed out the log, but she paid us $300 each in cash. So there's no, she is on the lease, but it does not show she was paying cash.
You mean the third roommate?
Yes.
The third roommate?
Right.
So your amount was $1,495?
Correct.
I got it. Okay,
up until the end of December.
Okay, I'm finished. Now, the next part of your counterclaim is for utilities. Security deposit you get back. What utilities do you think she owes you?
She did not pay me November, December, January, or February closing for utilities.
Did you pay them?
I paid them.
I'd like to see where you paid them. No, don't give me a whole bunch of papers. I don't want to see a whole bunch of papers that I have to go through. I want to see what utilities there were, when you sent her a statement of what the utilities were.
Yes.
I assume it worked that she paid you a portion of the utilities.
Yes, it was
What
split.
portion of the utilities did you pay?
We split it equally the whole time we were there.
Okay, so whatever utility bills that were paid by her, you were supposed to pay half.
Correct. Which
did you?
My last payment to her was December 4th for Spectrum Water, Trash, and Gas.
That was 12/4. Mm-hmm. How much did you pay her?
$364.61.
Okay, just a second. Did she pay you $364 in December?
She did for prior months.
So that was for November. That covered November. If it was paid in December, that covered November.
It would have been more so October. I
can't get involved with that, madam. Don't give him a whole bunch of papers. Don't give him a whole bunch of papers. December and January statement for utilities. You were gone in February.
Yes.
December and January bills for utilities. Did you pay those?
I did not, because she left me with all the rent.
I understand that, but now you're getting your rent. Now we're going to settle up on the utilities.
I didn't include it in the lawsuit, but she still owes me for trash. And I have a list of stuff that she took of mine that I did write
I'm not interested in it, Miss Henderson. It didn't work out. You should be very happy. She's gone. You didn't like her.
She overcharged me utilities with her business expenses.
Okay.
Every month we lived there.
Her ex-roommate, Tara Williams, of breaking their lease. Tara claims she filed the restraining order because Ellen was stalking her.
Miss Henderson, it didn't work out. You should be very happy. She's gone. You didn't like her.
She overcharged me utilities with her business expenses.
Okay.
Every month we lived there.
We have a bill for December and January. If there's anything here that's not December and January, I'm dismissing that part of your claim. And I already have a bill that's dated April of 2022.
Right, that was for January and February water.
That's $390. Billing date 4/14. No.
It was.
No. I want you, because I'm losing my patience slowly. Please read out the bills, the total bills for December and January only. Sarah, get ready.
Can it go till February 1st?
Yes.
Okay.
By the way, while she's looking for that, did you go to her kid's school?
I served her a letter of default and a cease and desist letter in the parking lot of her school, kids' school. Because she didn't pick up a letter from the mailbox. She knew it was coming from me, and I had to go back to the mailbox and get it after a month.
Okay.
And I didn't know where she lived. I didn't know how else to reach her.
Okay. Did you come in contact with her on the 25th of May in a pedestrian car incident?
Not that I recall.
At about 1 minute to 8 in the morning. Who drives a white minivan?
Me. What was the date?
May 25th.
Oh, yeah, that was her kid's school. That was her kid's school when I delivered the letter.
Well, that's why she filed for protective order against you. Not unreasonable. It was dismissed after a hearing, or it was just dismissed?
It was dismissed after a hearing.
Yeah. Part of your claim for filing a false restraining order is dismissed. I could actually see why you would get frightened if somebody went to your kid's school to serve you papers. Okay, what are the bills for utilities?
Can I just say something?
Sure.
I had to give her those letters in order to file for small claims.
Okay.
I had tried to mail it, and she didn't go to the post office.
I got it. Could we have the utilities? Which utility and what is it? You should have all this together for me and not make it difficult. This is why you were coming. Don't read out the numbers, what the utility is for what month and the amount.
So water, $257.94. Water for February was $132.09. For 12/03 bill date for electricity was $167.
What date?
12/20.
That's December.
Yes,
but that was for November.
I thought we were doing December, January.
For December, but you wouldn't have gotten December's bill in December. You would have gotten it in January.
It was prepared 12/03.
Right, but that's dealt with November. It was prepared 12/03. They're not prorated. Come on, let's go.
Okay, 2/04. This was prepared for electricity, $74.72.
Okay.
This one was for the date that I ended of 1/28 to 2/01. It was $12.78 for Edison electricity.
Let's move on.
And then this is gas for 12/29 to 1/27. It was $37.04. And then the ending charges was $5.72.
Got it? $5.72. I can't believe it. Okay, would you add those up? Yeah. And your arrangement with her, Miss Henderson, was that you each paid half of the utilities. Is that right?
Yeah. Can I say something about that too? Back in April or May of 2021, I went to her to speak and ask about me paying less for water, gas, and electric because she brought all of her Airbnb laundry. She has a cleaning business. And our washers and dryers were going constantly.
And
she didn't meet me halfway, so I was stuck paying half.
Fine.
I have the total whenever you're ready. $507.51.
Divide it by 2.
$254.
$1,243 less $254. $1,243 is what she's owed now, less the security deposit. I love this case. Couldn't be more excited about it.
$989.
Judgment for the plaintiff, $989.
Your Honor,
They're
I had
finished.
two
Thank you very much.
that
We're
were
done.
Court is adjourned.
Thank you.
It's sad that I lost, but I put up a good fight.
I'm happy with the decision.
She didn't want to live with me, that there were issues. Why would you turn in a lease to renew for a whole nother entire year with someone?
It's been a lot of stress.
I wanted her to file suit so I could see her in court in order to take care of the matter.
I had nowhere to go, and I didn't think she was going to renew, to be honest.
0 roommates. Don't do it.
I mean, I went into it thinking that this was going to be a good situation. I really got along, and I loved her and her kids, and I don't know that I could have done anything different.
Fade in on serene shots of different bodies of water, a calm lake, a flowing river, crashing ocean waves. Peaceful nature sounds in the background. Voiceover, water, the source of all life on our planet, an essential element that covers over 70% of the Earth's surface and makes up around 60% of our own bodies. Transition to more dynamic water scenes, shots of water in its many forms. Rain, snow, steam, waterfalls, capture the power and movement of water. Voiceover, water is constantly cycling and changing, flowing through the landscape, evaporating into the atmosphere, and falling back to the ground. This endless circulation is what sustains all life on Earth. highlight human use and dependence on water. Shots of people drinking water, bathing, watering plants, etc. Scenes of cities, farms, and industry that rely on water. Voiceover. Humans have always depended on water, using it for drinking, agriculture, industry, and more. Our very civilization has been built around access to clean, reliable water sources. Discuss water scarcity and conservation. Shots of dry, cracked earth. People struggling to access water. Voiceover. And yet, many parts of the world today face severe water scarcity, with droughts, pollution, and overuse threatening this precious resource. It's imperative that we use water wisely and work to conserve it for future generations. Closing sequence. Return to serene, calming water scenes. Voiceover. Water, the foundation of all life. Let us appreciate and protect this vital element that sustains our world. Fade to black. How's this script? I tried to capture the importance and wonder of water, while also highlighting key issues around water scarcity and conservation. Let me know if you would like me to modify or re-expand on anything.